Hang on a second. Stand by. Okay. There's nothing on my end that would indicate that it's not working, so I'm in a tin can. Is that any better? Sound fine, but the mic is off. Hold on a second. Hold on. Apologies, that sounded confusing. It's off. Is it on? Still off. We can hear you. Sound perfect here. Sounds normal. Sounds fine. Everybody, can I get a thumbs up in the mod chat, guys? If that's something that seems like it's working okay, that it sounds at least normal. Sounds normal. Sounds fine. Okay. I think we're good. All right. Thanks, everybody. Like it's off. Hold on. Stand by a second. It's through your phone. It's through your phone. Through your mic. I just want, so someone who said, hang on a second, guys. Just want to make sure no audio, not through your mic. Better? So somebody who didn't hear me, I'm not going to touch anything. There you go. All right, we're good. Okay, thank you. Thank you again, guys. Thanks for being here. You know the drill. Tapping is clapping. Liking is loving. Sharing is caring. Apparently, I'm going to get that translation in Danish at some point, but not today. Please do all the things. Please consider joining our team. There is a gifting goal today. There's multiple gifting goals. Please consider contributing to that. Also, just a real quick update. We've been tracking our donations so far, and we've just reached $1,848. This is towards the 25K goal for the Do Something Tour. Maybe we can get above 2K today. Your kindness and generosity is always appreciated. Never expected, but always appreciated. We thank you. You'll also find a new link in the link tree. This is the Instagram link to our Instagram page for the Do Something Tour. More information posted there. More to come on that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on this morning. Consider, again, going to the link tree in my bio and joining our Discord. That's where we basically that's kind of the hub of all of our information. For those of you who've not joined our Discord before, please consider joining. Just we ask that you go through the verification steps. It should be pretty simple. Also, head on over to the merch store, Facts HQ. You'll find some great items in there. By the way, I donated $261 to canmn.org. I think I might be a little bit light on that. I'm not sure if maybe some orders came in over the weekend, but I'll double check. But just want to let you all know that your kindness and generosity through canmn.org. Somewhere I took a screenshot of that. I will find it and I will post that. And good on you guys for doing that. So canmn.org is the Community Action Network of Minneapolis. We decided to create some merch. Thank you, Sam. And then the proceeds went from that, and then we extended that a little bit past the deadline last week, and we included other items from the merch store, and I think I forgot to count those. I will give you a running total tomorrow, and just thank you guys for your kindness and your support. So thank you for being here. Well, interesting weekend. Spend a little bit of time in the TikTok streets. Remember, I go to right-wing spaces, so you don't have to. You're welcome. I'm not sure how much more I can do it, to be perfectly honest, because I'm starting to ask myself, what's the point? And I want to thank my amazing friends here, and especially my mods, for always having my back, just reminding me that, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it at the end of the day? Because we're talking about fighting for humanity here. Right. And I was in this live, and someone actually said that food is not a right. I heard that, and nothing really surprises me anymore. I mean, nothing really surprises me anymore. And then, of course, I asked the question of this individual, and I said, "Are you pro-life?" And they said, "Absolutely." The same person that said food is not a right. When I hear these things, and when I'm really kind of in a spot and I've got a lot of shit in my head, I write. That's what I do. So in a little bit, I just want to I'll share with you what I wrote. Maybe it will resonate, maybe it won't. I don't know, but that's how I get things out. So the question that I ask myself is, like, what is the point? Why are we doing this? We are doing this because we're fighting for humanity, and that's part of what, to be honest, that's part of what the Do Something Tour is about. so we can remind people what it is that we are fighting for. I wish everything wasn't political. I mean, it doesn't matter when we have conversations with opposition about the data. They'll find anything and everything. Now, we've got reporting today because one of the things that the right's been, whining and complaining about is that there's no credible evidence of accusations against the president. Well, actually, there is now. We have some more data on that. So they'll move the goalpost again. They'll move the goalpost again. They'll move the goalpost again. People who seem to think that they're in the moral majority are doing everything possible to defend predators, crimes against children, to the point where people are under threat if they speak up. Thomas Massie in particular. Thomas Massie, as you know, was one of the co-authors of the Epstein Transparency Act, right? And Thomas Massie, I agree. Why are victims evidence? I agree with you, Andy. That's exactly the point. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Hearts in the chat, Andy. That's exactly right. Why are victims' statements not credible? The argument then becomes if allegations made against the president are not credible, then allegations made against anybody in the files is not credible. Thomas Massie, again, co-author of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, of which day 59 of the Department of Justice Breaking the Law, said this on his X account from Thomas Massie. I am not suicidal. I eat healthy food. The brakes on my car and truck are in good shape. I practice good trigger discipline and never point my firearm at anyone, including myself. There are no deep pools of water on my farm, and I'm a pretty good swimmer. Thanks, Cookie, for sharing that. Like, what? So this is where we are now, right? This is where we are. Members of Congress have to go out on the record and say things like that in case an accident happens. Reminds people that he's doesn't want to do self-harm, that he eats healthy foods, that the brakes on his car are in good shape, that he practices good trigger discipline, that he never points his firearm at anybody, including himself. There are no deep pools of water on his property, and he's a pretty good swimmer. Because the network of people in the cabinet, in the administration, in right-wing media, in all these safe spaces are doing everything possible to protect predators. And we have his supporters just will find any possible way to defend him. Initially, today's show, I wanted to talk about the entitlement of the left and can the left unite? And we're probably going to get into that a little bit tomorrow. Thank you, Sam, for talking me off the ledge on that one a little bit. But the idea behind the left uniting is that we tend to get into this space looking for perfection. We've talked about this before. And then I would ask those people who are questioning whether or not they can just do the best they can and vote with harm reduction in mind. There are tens of millions of Americans who don't think food is a right. I'd like to think that many of you who are saying, I can't vote for the Democrat because they're not this, they're not that. I'd like many of you to think about that when you are faced with voting. We can't be entitled anymore. We have to move past our own selfishness. There's no debate. If you cannot bring yourself to vote for, even if they're not the perfect candidate, even if the person's a centrist or a moderate, I'm sorry, you got to get over it. You may not like something somebody's done years ago. I'm sorry, you got to get over it. They may not be progressive enough for you. I'm sorry, you got to get over it. I don't know what else to say. Because again, if you truly believe, like many of you say or claim to believe, that we are fighting for humanity, then you have no choice. Do you understand? You have every single right to criticize the system. That's the whole point. That's the entire point of our body politic, is to criticize it. And again, when there are people in this country that don't think food is a right, and people on the left can't bring themselves to vote because they don't like the moderate nature of left-wing politics, then you're just as culpable in all this. So we'll get into that a little bit more tomorrow. But today is about reminding folks what we're fighting for. And we are fighting for humanity. Plain and simple. I don't know if there's any other way to describe it other than that. I've got somebody that's requested. We'll take care of this request then to our show today. I guess not. I guess they changed their mind. Stage fright. Okay. Anyway, few things that we should discuss before we get into our topic today. And like I said, I write when I've got shit on my mind. I just write. It's what I do for work. It's what I've always done. You know, that's how I get stuff out. So maybe this is an opportunity to remind folks, like, what is your outlet? You know, I spend a lot of time outdoors. I write, I play guitar. In the summertime, I ride my motorcycle. I used to ski and snowboard. I don't do that as much anymore just because the body doesn't hold up like it used to. And, you know, it ain't cheap, that's for sure. But you got to find something to kind of move through this kind of stuff. You know, find some time to spend with friends, find some time to do causes. That's, again, what the Do Something Tour is about. Remember, it started with the idea of just doing something in your community. Now, oftentimes you play video games. That's great. That's awesome. Whatever that takes, any way to unplug. This space here can be dangerous for sure. And I have to do a better job. I have to do a better job protecting that. You guys know me, though. I can't stand injustice. I can't stand disinformation. So I will insert myself. And I lost it yesterday. And I want to thank my brother, Obi, and others, because he had a live after that. Because I came out of that live and I was just overwhelmed. I was just overwhelmed. And one person that was speaking kind of went after one of our amazing mods, and I drew the line there. And so it takes its toll. But if not us, who? If not now, when? So I'll take that bullet, that figurative bullet, so to speak. I just need you guys to make sure that your moral compass is clearly pointed towards humanity. That's all I can ask. Okay, just a couple things first. In case you had not heard, there was some wrangling in, this is pretty wild. There was some wrangling after the Super Bowl. Had to do with Bad Bunny's halftime performance. So I'm going to play a little sound for you.
The lyrics, from what we have seen from Bad Bunny, are very disturbing. And if it holds true that I don't speak fluent Spanish, okay? I know how to ask where the bathroom is, but these lyrics, if it is true, what was said on national television, we have a lot of questions. This could be much worse than the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So Republican members of Congress calling for an investigation into Bad Bunny's lyrics. We're going to play some pretty crazy sound from a congressional hearing last week for a new member of the potential nominee for the State Department. The FCC has cleared Bad Bunny for after the GOP complaints. The Federal Communications Commission investigated Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show and found no violations after several Republican lawmakers claimed the Puerto Rican artist used explicit language that went uncensored during the broadcast. According to the Post, the FCC examined potential violations of its rules over indecent material and offensive language on public airwaves. The investigation revealed the 3 songs performed by Bad Bunny had references to sexual acts and genitalia removed for the Super Bowl's versions. The songs Titi Me Pregunto, Monaco, and Zaparea contain those references in the original recordings, which is true. But Bad Bunny, being the responsible artist that he is, censored his own content to be able to perform that Super Bowl halftime show. And because Republicans, the hypocrites that they are, because of the original lyrics of those songs did in fact contain those references, didn't bother to even ask. The FCC investigated and said, yeah, there's no violation. Florida Republican Congressman Randy Fine sparked the controversy with a post on social media calling Bad Bunny's performance disgusting and illegal while quoting lyrics that were not performed at the Super Bowl. According to the outlet following the show, Fine wrote FCC Chairman Brendan Carr stating that, quote, the woke garbage we witnessed on Super Bowl Sunday needs to be investigated and put to an end, he added. There is no reason that over 130 million people, including children, should have been exposed to that vulgar and disgusting content of the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show. Missouri Republican Rep. Mark Alford raised similar concerns on Fox, acknowledging he does not speak Spanish. That's the sound that I just played for you. No Republicans expressed similar concerns regarding Kid Rock lyrics that referenced drinking, drugs, prostitution, and topless women at the Turning Point USA halftime show, which was marketed as, quote, family friendly. Statutory, he calls it mandatory. Bad Bunny's halftime show averaged 128.2 million viewers on NBC, while garnering over 69 million views on YouTube and over 4 billion social media views. So conservatives, you Bible thumpers, fuck you. Okay? Again, typical. So, yeah. No more commentary necessary. The two things that we've discussed this morning already. Thomas Massie having to make a public post about his breaks and no water, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because why? Because why? Because he wrote a law to potentially hold powerful men and women accountable for their crimes against children. And he's calling out the hypocrisy of the administration. I could sit across the table and have a heated debate with Thomas Massie regarding his politics because I don't like his politics, but I respect his integrity. And he's stuck to his guns on this situation. And I respect that. And we should respect that. And that's the point, right? That's the point. That's the entire point. Now, he's probably passed laws or signed on to laws that I would absolutely disagree with. Rightly so. That's the point. But now he feels like he's under threat. He feels like he's under threat because why? Exposing predators? And then Republican members of Congress going out and saying that Bad Bunny should be investigated for his lyrics when Bad Bunny himself edited his own lyrics. So to avoid that, but meanwhile, no talk of Kid Rock at all. None whatsoever. Which again, brings us back. We are fighting for humanity. So like I said, just to get shit off my chest, I write. So if you guys don't mind, I just want to share this because I'm hoping it resonates with people. I'll post this on my Substack later, but okay. There are moments in a nation's history when the question is no longer about politics, about parties, or about personalities. The question becomes much simpler and far more important. There's a typo. I have to fix that. What kind of people do we want to be? In 2026, we're living through one of those moments. We are a country built on an unfinished promise that all people are created equal, that liberty belongs to everyone, and that justice is not a privilege for the powerful, but a right for the many. Those words were never perfect, and they were never fully realized, and we still struggle with them today, but they were a North Star, a direction we were meant to move toward generation after generation. Human rights are not a political slogan and should never be. They are the basic agreements we make with one another so that society can function with dignity. The right to speak freely, the right to worship or not to worship without fear, the right to due process, the right to bodily autonomy, the right to safety, opportunity, and respect regardless of race, gender, religion, nationality, or income. When we weaken those rights for anyone, we weaken them for everyone. History is full of warnings. Rights are rarely lost all at once. They erode slowly through exceptions, through fear, through language that tells us, another typo, through language that tells us some people are less deserving than others. First, it is their freedom, then it becomes ours. Every generation of Americans has faced this test. There were those who defended slavery and those who risked everything to end it. There were those who opposed women's suffrage and those who marched for the vote. There were those who enforced segregation and those who crossed bridges and endured beatings for civil rights. There were those who turned away refugees and those who opened their doors. We'd like to imagine we would have stood on the right side of history, but history is not something that only happens in textbooks. It is happening now. It's happening in real time. It's happening in our laws, in our institutions, in our everyday choices. Human rights are not abstract ideas. They are about real people. They're about the child who needs food and health care. They're about the worker who deserves fair pay and safe conditions. about the immigrant who seeks safety instead of violence, the elderly person who depends on dignity in their final years, the student who wants to learn without fear, the family who simply wants a chance to live in peace. When we talk about policy, we're talking about these lives. A nation that forgets human rights becomes smaller, becomes colder, and more afraid. It begins to treat compassion as a weakness and cruelty as a strength. It divides people into categories of worthy and unworthy. And once that line is drawn, it never stays where it started. The promise of America was never that we would be perfect. The promise was that we would keep trying to be better, or at least we should. That requires courage. It requires empathy. It requires the willingness to defend the rights of people we may never meet. Human rights are not just about protecting ourselves. They are about protecting the person who has the least amount of power in the room. Because if their rights are safe, everyone's rights are safe. So in 2026, the question before us is not just who wins an election or which party gains control. The question is whether we will continue the long, imperfect march towards dignity and equality, or whether we will return ourselves backwards. The future is not decided by slogans. It is decided by ordinary people choosing day after day to stand up for one another. If we lose sight of human rights, we lose the very idea of America. If we protect them, we keep the promise alive. The choice is ours. The time is now. If not us, who? If not now, when? So I hope that resonates with people because, again, what's the point? What is the point? What is the point? What are we fighting for if we're not fighting for humanity? These things gut me. They really do. Thank you for saying that. I was distraught yesterday. Thank you. I really was. And there's so much to unpack. And I myself am guilty of perhaps lending my platform to others that certainly brings in viewers, and I need to stop. So you're probably going to see me not as much on the TikTok streets in opposition spaces. Because what's the point? Seriously. What is the point? Because we've got our own house to clean up. We've got to get more people invested. We've got more people and got to get more people engaged. And that is what the Do Something Tour is all about. Now, there are probably people out there that we're going to speak to, as we travel the eastern side of the country. And talking to voters who checked out on democracy, talking to people who just feel like, they don't have a voice. And there are tens of millions of us, right? So again, this plea is to people on the left that are already saying, oh, I can't vote for Gavin Newsom. How dare you? The election is 2+ years away and you've already made that decision? This is my point. 78 million Americans could vote for a twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, name on a list, predator, racist. And you've already decided that you can't vote for Gavin Newsom? Or anybody? This is, infuriating is the word. We have to come together. Thank you, Swishy Raiders. The left has to come together on this shit. Really, really has to. This is the entitlement. I was speaking to someone over the weekend, again, idealistically, who believes what we believe, but they decided, you know what? I'm packing up. I'm packing up. I'm going to go live someplace else. What is that? What is that? Sure, you've got the means to do it, but you leave behind the people who've been fighting every single day. Thank you, Swishy Raiders. Hearts in the chat for Swish Raiders, please. Every single day, right? Every day. I get it. People want to say no more white men. I get it. But when the time comes and it's likely going to be a white man as the nominee, what are you going to do? Not vote? That's my point. It's amazing to me to think people are still thinking this way. Do you care? Do you think food is a right? If you think food is a right, then then it doesn't fucking matter who the nominee is. You have a simple fucking job to do, and that is to focus on harm reduction. Please. There is way too much at stake. There is just way too much at stake. For anybody to make a decision now is just selfish and entitled. We say this a lot. Every single time. Democracy is on the line. The demographic that stands up first and puts their hands up and say, I will defend it, are black women. Every single time. And what do? Well, he's a little bit moderate. You get it yet? Do you get it? I wouldn't be surprised nor would I blame every single black woman to say, I'm fucking done. I've tried. I've told you people how to move differently through society. I've told you how to peacefully protest. I've voted for people who are inherently racist because I know what's at stake. We've got to stop looking for perfection. You want changes to the system, then at least vote for the fucking life raft. And then build an extension on the life raft. So then you can have a boat. And then you can have an armada. And then you can have down ballot progressives elected, and you can change the fucking system. Please stop being so damn entitled. I know there's friends I've got on this app who are already doing that kind of shit. And I am asking you to think differently. I've heard some of you now say, I can't see myself voting for Newsom. How dare you? How dare you say that? Are you kidding me? Do you think Gavin Newsom would be saying that food isn't a right? Seriously. This is the part that just frustrates me the most. Exactly. It's 2 years away. Stop. Primary. Volunteer. Get involved in your community. In other words, do something. In the link tree that's in my bio, you'll find a link to the Instagram page. It's over there. Check it out. We need your help. We need your support. We're tracking this. If you'd like to support the cause, you'd like to support the campaign as your boy hits the road, because I'm going to DC too. That's part of the trip. I'm going to be wrapping around, starting in Buffalo, heading south through the Ohio River Valley, down to the Ozarks, Missouri, east to Georgia, swing state, north to North Carolina, swing state, to DC. Spent a couple of days in DC. I need to find someone who can take care of the dog for a couple of days, because I was thinking about that last night. Then up the coast, Maine, also a swing state, and then back home. That's the plan. We've got friends. We've got to stop being so damn entitled. Got to stop. We have to stop saying, too moderate. Can't vote for another white man. Listen, I get it. I want a fucking matriarchy. I'm likely not going to get it, but that's what I want. So I want to survive today to thrive tomorrow. Okay? With that being said, I want to play some sound from a couple of really explosive hearings over the weekend. They're a bit long, but it's Chris Murphy, by the way, who I would love to see as the new Senate Majority Leader, and also from Cory Booker. And this is the Cory Booker that I really like. I don't like the performative Cory Booker. He frustrates me sometimes, and sometimes his voting record is a bit questionable, but I love when I hear the tenacious, argumentative, brilliant Cory Booker. That's who I like. So I'm going to play some sounds because they're interviewing a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Carl. Jeremy Carl is a nominee to be part of the State Department. In other words, Jeremy Carl will be representing the United States interests globally. So he's a conservative policy commentator and former Trump area Interior Department official who was nominated to a senior diplomatic post. He was it's a Senate confirmed position. and he was being he was in his testimony and his hearing last week, and I'm just going to play some sound. Did I say Johnny Carl? Jeremy Carl. Sorry, did I get that wrong? My apologies. Let's first start with Chris Murphy. And this goes to what we're talking about this morning, okay? About humanity and about decency and about respecting differences, because you're going to hear him reference some things that is just fucking wild. Here you go.
Thank you. Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for...
So again, this is the Senate Foreign Relations Committee confirmation hearing for Jeremy Carl.
Appearing here today. Mr. Carl, I think it's just heartbreaking that you have been nominated for this position and that you've reached a panel before the United States Senate. But I do want to give you a chance to go a little bit deeper in your explanations of your personal beliefs. They are directly relevant to your fitness to serve. You already have had some of your statements read to you, but I'd like you to respond to at least a few of them. One of the things you have said is that anti-white...
I just want to pause really quickly and give a shout out to Estrella. Estrella summed it up better than I ever could. The comment was, by the way, you aren't a true progressive if you choose to be so stubborn that no progress occurs. Again, Estrella, if you are in here still, I could not have said it better myself. You are not a true progressive if you choose to be so stubborn that no progress occurs. That's the fucking shit. Thank you for that. And yes, nerd, I did get your dollar, and we'll talk about more of those in a second. So thank you very much. Thanks for posting that, Sam. I appreciate it. All right, back to Chris Murphy.
White discrimination is the most pervasive and politically salient form of racism today. So do you continue to believe that anti-white discrimination is more salient than the discrimination faced today by blacks, Latinos, Muslims, or other American groups?
Well, Senator, thank you for that question. And thank you also for giving me an opportunity to speak at a little bit of length. I haven't necessarily had much opportunity to respond.
I'm going to have at least one more question for you, so I'll give you a minute or two to respond.
Yes. So thanks to the great work of my friend Harmeet Dillon as the Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, I actually think that we've done an incredible job in this administration of getting rid of certain policies that discriminate particularly against white Americans, but also in some cases Asian Americans.
Well, just maybe answer my question. Let's rewind. Because maybe you'll suggest that everything is fine now. Let's rewind a year ago. A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
yes. Senator, no, certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination, at least prior to the Trump administration fixing this, than black Americans?
On average, Senator, yes, that's correct, and I'm not running away from that statement at all.
You have made several statements of...
That's wild. This is fucking crazy. And this is the normalization of this bullshit that we're talking about. He's loud and proud white supremacist, up for a nomination to be part of our State Department, spreading American values globally.
About your worry regarding the erasure of white culture in America.
Unreal.
You know, I understand Irish American culture. I understand Italian American culture. I maybe don't understand white culture as well. Tell me the values, the white values that you believed are being erased by the current American government or prior American governments.
Senator, thank you for that question. I would say that it's not, I didn't use the word values, I used the word culture. I think that anytime you have large degrees of mass immigration, you're going to have a change in culture, if those are, especially if they're coming from culturally dissimilar backgrounds. And no matter what group it is, if it were in China, it would be the same thing. If it were in New Guinea, it would be the same thing.
Yeah, but tell me about what that means. I mean, culture is values, right? It's expressions of identity. Tell me what is being erased. I mean, give me some examples of what you believe are being erased about white identity. What is white identity to you?
Well, Senator, thank you for that.
Tell me how it's different than other identities.
Senator, I think the question of identity is something that lots of
I
scholars
guess you can do a sermon on identity, but just tell me how you define white identity and what you think is being erased about white identity.
Senator, it would have, thank you again for the question, and genuinely thank you for finally letting me have a chance to explain some of my comments a little bit.
So this is Chris Murphy interviewing, questioning Jeremy Carl, a full-blown, self-professed, proud white nationalist, white supremacist, who is, again, answering questions to potentially be a new member of the State Department, spreading American values globally.
I would say that, they could be things like going to a certain type of Christian church and that sort of culture, which is very different. I mean, you can all be Christians, right, in a certain environment, but African-American Christians might worship differently than Chinese Christians, that might worship differently than white Christians. Of course, sometimes you have multi-ethnic churches, but things like that, certain types of Anglo-derived culture that comes from our history.
Like what?
Like what, exactly?
Let me think about this.
Why don't you think about this, you piece of shit?
Senator, I would say if you were to look at the book by one of your former Senate colleagues, Born Fighting, about the sort of Scotch-Irish military culture and
great replacement theory. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
And certain, pride that went with that. That would be one example. Obviously, you can have sub-elements of that culture. You could have Italians, you could have Irish, and those are in many ways more.
But you're worried about white culture. You're not worried about you're now retreating to ethnic identity. You don't speak about ethnic identity. You speak about white identity. So tell me the values that stitch together white identity and that make it different than black identity.
Senator, again, thank you for
spent a lot of time talking about this and writing about this. You're struggling with this.
Yeah, you are.
But you should be fairly easily, I would assume, able to tell us your thoughts on how white identity is different than other kinds of identity and how it's being erased.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. I'm just trying to be very precise.
Then answer it.
So, because I'm here in front of a Senate committee.
Yeah, we know.
I would say that the white church is very different than the black church in terms of its tone and style on average. Food ways could often be different.
And those
music could be different.
And those are being erased.
Music could be different. Well, if you look at the Super Bowl halftime show, which was not in English this year.
So our ability to access white.
Did you catch that? Right. Well, the Super Bowl halftime show wasn't in English. Okay.
Churches or white food or white music is being erased?
Senator, again, thank you for the question. What I would say is the biggest thing, because actually, contrary to many of the comments that have been shown, racial nationalists have been very, very critical of my work because they correctly say that I'm actually, of course, not a racial nationalist, which I'm not. I'm a civic nationalist. I am concerned with the majority common American culture that we had for some time that through particularly mass immigration, I think has become much more balkanized, and I think that weakens us. And again, I'm not running away from that comment. I'm not apologizing for it.
Well, I'm way over my time. I think you're struggling to answer this question, right? Because underlying your beliefs is a sentiment that white culture is just simply better.
Senator, I have to disagree with that.
But you haven't been able to really coherently answer any of my questions about how you define white culture, how you define the threat that's posed. I appreciate you being very honest that you believe that white Americans are subject to greater amounts of discrimination in this country than black Americans. I do not think that's a sentiment that is shared broadly on this committee. It is all what makes you just wildly unqualified to take this post. I'm well over my time. Thank you.
Well, Senator, I do.
Chris Murphy, the person that I would like to see as the next Senate Majority Leader, quite frankly. Somebody just said in the chat, and I was thinking the exact same thing. Racism is white culture. I've said it a million fucking times. A million times. A system built by people who look like me to benefit people who look like me, to protect people who look like me. And here we go. Out loud and fucking proud. Nominated to be a member of the United States State Department, spreading American values globally. This is something you're hearing now, right? American culture. It's not American culture. It's white supremacist dog whistle for white culture. Plain and fucking simple. Again, going back to what I said earlier, if you can't see through this and you're unwilling to participate in democracy because you don't have the perfect candidate, then this is what you are allowing to happen. Plain and fucking simple. I'm going to play sound from Cory Booker in just a second. This got me thinking about a famous interview that Eddie Huang did with Jared Taylor. Full-blown fucking white supremacist. I have that here too. I want to play that for you guys. Because this is the same fucking script. This was from a few years ago. Exactly forget the dates, but Eddie Huang, who does a lot of he does work for Vice, and Jared Taylor, full blown, proud white supremacist. You'll hear some similar rhetoric from this guy as he's being interviewed. Actually, they're sitting down for lunch.
How it is you voted for Donald Trump when you're so into facts, because his entire campaign is not based in facts. It was all based in propaganda and emotion.
I voted for Donald Trump for one reason only. His policies, if implemented, would slow the dispossession of whites in the United States.
There you go.
If he were to deport all illegal immigrants, if he were to think very hard about letting in any Muslims, all of this would slow the rate at which whites are becoming a minority.
Why are you so worried about the white dispossession of America?
Because I want my people to survive. Is that so strange? We don't control China. We don't control any place where whites are not a majority. And if we become a minority, we will not control our own destiny anymore.
I grew up in this country as a minority, as the children of immigrants. I was their first child born in America. And while I didn't have much possession or didn't much control, I really enjoyed myself. And I think that if you ask a lot of Americans, they would say that I had a lot to offer this country. You know, according to you, I guess I would be perpetuating the dispossession of white America.
That is true. That is true.
Would you say that you wouldn't want me in this country?
At some point, when my ancestors built this nation, they did not build it with the intention of giving it away to Mexicans or Chinese.
When your ancestors built the nation, Jared, you mean chattel slavery and the G-side of indigenous communities? Is that what you mean? Okay, just making sure.
Or Haitians or to anyone else.
Do you consider, you keep saying your ancestors built this country, you consider that a fact?
Who else built it?
Black people, Native Americans, Chinese people who came and built the railroads.
Do you think none of that could have been
Italian people.
But they're Europeans, aren't they?
But you believe in evolution, right?
Evolution, I think, explains a great deal.
So according to evolutionary theory, we're all out of Africa. So at some point, your ancestors were sub-Saharan Africans.
So what? At some point, our ancestors were unicellular animals.
So I'm saying at any point in time, we could say you were an African. So you're choosing to pick this point in time and say you're a descendant of white Europeans.
Why do you think I'm choosing this point of time?
Because it's in favor of your politics at this point.
It's because I'm alive now.
Well, my issue with you is that I don't think you have enough compassion and vision, not because I don't like what things are now, it's that I have hope and belief in what they could be.
I don't need to tell any member of a marginalized community, in particular black and brown people, I don't need to interpret, as a privileged white man in America, I don't need to interpret that. This is what they've been hearing for generations, right? it should make you cry. It should make you fucking angry. This is the point. We are fighting for humanity because those people are in power and they don't give a fuck. They are proud to be racist. They are proud to be white supremacists. They are proud to defend predators. They are proud to diminish any single marginalized community there is. Everyone. They don't care. Now, Alex, yeah, because of Trump, Donald Trump did not make America this way. Because the United States is this way is why we got Donald Trump. It's a clear distinction that I think people really need to understand, right? Just like the situation. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Erica and to Hector because they were just this. I was falling asleep to this live they did last night. I'm not sure if you guys are in here, but hearts in the chat if you are, for just this conversation about this. They had a black man on their panel and they were just trying to lead him through his I don't know, blind spots. I don't know what it was or how you would describe it, but it was unbelievably bad for him. And they did an amazing job. My point is, here we sit, tens of millions of Americans defending what Donald Trump did on social media by depicting Barack and Michelle as apes and trying to find every possible way to defend it. Every possible way. Well, it was buffering. It was scrolling to the next video. It was an accident. He didn't mean it. My point is, why should any of us spend any more time with those people? And I am probably the most guilty. So I know what you're going to say, that I don't need to do it, but I apologize for bringing you into some of those spaces. I really appreciate that you follow me in there. I just don't know how much more I can do it, to be perfectly honest. To be perfectly honest, not only for two primary reasons. One, is it making a difference? And I know that people perhaps in the chat who follow might hear it and say, wow, that was fucking crazy. Like, for example, yesterday, when someone who is a hardcore Trump voter said that food isn't a right. And maybe there are people that are MAGA saying, Jesus Christ, I vote with those people. But more importantly, I don't know if it's necessarily good for any of you. So I'll just want to throw that out there and just we'll talk about it more in a minute. I've got some more sound to play for you this morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm very good.
What's on your mind?
I think facts don't matter.
Cool. Have a good day. Okay. So that's
it was one of those things.
I'm going to play the sound from Cory Booker in just a second because he brings it home. So this is JD Vance. Don't forget, he was over in Italy, disrupting events. And he was asked about the president's post. Okay? And I just want you to hear his answer. And he's got this smile, this fucking smirk on his face. Like it's total fucking smirk on his face.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where either because the time zone changed or because we were so busy, the controversy had started and then died out by the time I even paid attention to it. You know, the president said a staffer posted a video. He hadn't even watched the whole thing. When he watched the whole thing, he took it down. It's not a real controversy. We have much more real problems to focus on.
We have much more real problems to focus on? Well, that's because you're a white supremacist, JD. Of course you don't think it's a big deal. You know, if I was a racist, I wouldn't think racist things were a big deal either. If I was a protector of predators, I wouldn't think that's a big deal either, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Should he apologize for that, sir?
Should he apologize for posting a video and then taking it down? No, I don't think so. I think people post things on social media, and if you post something you don't like it, you can just take it down.
My guy, he's the president of the United States. He's not some random dude in Ohio who posts something in his Facebook group. He's the president of the United States. You were just asked a question about whether or not the president should apologize, and you're like, nah, What's racist, but what's a little racism between racists? Yeah, you can't unring a bell. Exactly. Of course he should have apologized. Of course he should have. But he can't. It's impossible for a malignant narcissist suffering from frontal temporal dementia to apologize, because he'll confabulate everything in his fucking brain, which is a symptom of dementia, FTD, right? Of course he won't apologize. Of course he won't. Of course he won't apologize. So let's go to Cory Booker. The same hearing, the same line of questioning. Take us to school, Cory.
Mr. Carl, I never thought I would have somebody that made a lot of the statements that you've made before the United States Senate, and I would love to discuss some of your comments. You're going to be working with international organizations. Do you think one race is superior than another race on the planet Earth?
Senator, absolutely not.
You don't. So do you think that America would weaker if it was, say, 40% Jewish?
Senator, absolutely not in and of itself. I think the problem...
Well, why did you...
In and of itself. In and of itself. It's an interesting qualifier, right? Let's just hear that little part again.
Of itself, I think the problem...
Well, why did you say 40% Jewish?
Senator, absolutely not in and of itself. I think the problem...
Well, why did you qualify that?
We are listening to Jeremy Carl. Jeremy Carl is a nominee to join the United States State Department. He is now being questioned by Cory Booker. This is from a hearing last week.
No, well, Senator, if you let me finish, I do not. I believe that unity, as President Trump has said, rather than diversity, is a greater strength.
Interesting. Citing the president. Citing the president. Never mind that our entire nation was founded on immigrants, was founded on a variety of people, voices. Because if somebody were to ask me what American culture is, I would say it's our food, it's our music, it's our clothing, it's our artwork, it's our communities, it's the vibrant beat of a neighborhood in LA or in Boston or in Minneapolis or wherever. That is what makes our country unique in the world because of all those voices. I don't want a sleeve of stale saltine crackers. I want the fucking smorgasbord. Unity is a dog whistle. Diversity is what they are deathly afraid of. Absolutely deathly afraid of. And they're telling you out loud, and they've got their followers believing it. Going back to the top of the show, 77 million people think this shit is okay. And there are people in our country now that are saying, you know what? I don't think I can vote for Gavin Newsom. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're going to listen to this fucking shit and then already make your plan that you couldn't vote for Gavin Newsom in 2.5 fucking years? Give me a fucking break. Do you get it? Do you understand what we're talking about here? Do you understand that they are willing to do anything and everything to promote their fucking white supremacist agenda? And you're going to sit back in your feelings and say, you know, I can't vote for Gavin Newsom. You're a lost cause. If you still feel that way right now, then please unfollow me and don't come back. I'm so done with this bullshit.
But why not simply say it doesn't matter what percentage of our population is Jewish?
Senator, it certainly doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Senator, if I could finish, as somebody of Jewish origin myself, and I do want to take this moment to say, because there have been some comments made, one of my weaknesses, and we've discussed some that you may think in general are weaknesses.
One of your weaknesses?
Is sometimes I take an idea too far. And I made some comments in interviews about minimizing the effect of the Holocaust that were absolutely wrong. And I'm not going to sit here and defend them here. I just want to be very, very clear on that point. Again, had I been in Germany in that time, even though I'm a 6th-generation American, But if I not, I would have been killed just like anybody else.
I've heard you say that you regret some of your comments.
This is Jeremy Carl being interviewed by Cory Booker
about Jews.
Absolutely.
Do you regret any other comments about any other races?
Senator, you would have to reference a certain comment, but I'm certainly not a perfect person, and I'm sure that I've made.
Do you regret any of your comments about Latino Americans?
Senator, I'm sure that if you read me every single comment I'd made about a group, there would be some that, upon consideration.
So you stipulate for this body that you have in your past made comments about Jews and Latinos and perhaps blacks that you perhaps regret.
Senator, thank you for the question. As a Calvinist who believes that we're all infinitely sinful and only redeemed through grace.
See, sir, we're sending you into a very diverse world.
Yeah.
And you can't say unequivocally that America, it doesn't matter what our racial makeup is. You believe it matters what the racial makeup of America is.
Senator.
Do you believe it matters, yes or no, what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, to echo President Trump, I believe
I don't want you to echo
diversity.
President Trump. I want you to answer my question, yes or no. Does it matter what the racial makeup of America is?
Senator, I'll stand on my comment. Thank you.
What's your comment? Answer the question, yes or no.
Echoing President Trump, I believe unity rather than diversity is a strength.
There it is.
So you have a problem if America grew to be more Latinos than white people?
Senator, the individual group is not important. This is a cross-societal.
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement theory?
Senator, thank you for that question. This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
You think there's an active effort to, quote unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying...
The Democrat, again, I was going to pause there, right? My background in messaging and politics, this is a very clear reach out to the white supremacist ring within the party. Very clear reach out. Sentiment echoed and spread by the president. Radical Democrats trying to label the Democrats as the reason, white America, that you're losing your power. That's what that is. I know you know that because you're the smartest chat on TikTok. I know you get that. That's what this is. So we're going to find somebody. So when Trump's looking for nominees, Stephen Miller's in his ear. Stephen Miller's going, let me see if I can find who are the most white, the out loud white supremacists that we can find. Oh, here's this guy. This guy's awesome. Jeremy Carl. Perfect. He helps spread our whiteness around the globe. And here he is, loud and proud, admitting it. I'll stand by what I said.
That if more Americans are black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority.
Senator, I never said anything like that, nor do I actually believe that. I want to be very clear that regardless of country, if people generally share more in common,
can I read you what you've said? Because it sounds like this. You said the Great Replacement is real, and they are going to try to make you pay for it.
Who's they?
Who is they?
Exactly.
Senator, thank you for that question. I simply don't know from you reading that one isolated comment.
So this is the problem. You make the most incendiary comments that you admit that you regret about Jews, about Latinos, about blacks. And you sit here and say that you do not have a worldview, that somehow our country is weakened based upon the populations of each. In fact, you say in your writings that it is a threat to the United States of America and create an us versus them. And the only interpretation I can have of us versus them is it's white people against others, which sounds deeply racist to me. That somehow you think our country's greatness depends upon its ethnic diversity, as long as white people have more numbers than others. That does not sound like a nation that was founded with the...
That's exactly right, Corey. That's exactly what he's saying. And this pathetic racist white supremacist just can't admit it.
Belief that all people are created equal and equal before the eyes of God. It sounds like you have a racial hierarchy. There's no way for me to read this in any other way.
Senator,
because you have said our country, based upon religious diversity, based upon ethnic diversity, based upon racial diversity, you have indicated that somehow those make America weaker or stronger. That God forbid our nation grows in population, that then you suddenly say, I'm aggrieved, and they are trying to replace us. This is the United States of America. We are one nation under God, but you cut us up and divide us along racial lines.
Senator, respectfully, I do not think that they do.
You cannot use the word respectfully, because you do.
This is the Cory Booker that I really like.
Not respect me.
Oh,
you
no,
look
actually,
upon
I do.
me as my color of my skin. You say holidays like Juneteenth are racial hustles. Don't come here and hustle me.
Senator,
you have said statements that other nations are going to look upon you and read plainly. When you go to a country of a different religion or ethnicity, you have discriminated against Jews in your writing, you have discriminated against others, and then you claim yourself as a victim. Mr. Chairman, I've never seen such a blatantly racist individual who doesn't even deny that he's made these statements, but wants to tell us that he regrets them, and yet still believes that this body, who is committed to principles of equality, who is committed to ideals of our founders, that you're not in direct violation to the ideals and values and principles. And the last thing I want to say, I watched people beat others when they attacked the Capitol, viciously attack police officers. Brian Sicknick, a New Jersey resident, was beaten near death and would die days later. And you say those violent felons, you literally have said that they were treated worse than people during Jim Crow. When thousands of Americans...
Keep that in mind. This guy, Jeremy Carl, is on the record saying that the January 6th insurrectionist, riotous traitors sent to the Capitol to overthrow our government at the direction of the biggest racist of all, Donald Trump. This guy thinks those people were treated worse than what happened during Jim Crow. But nothing to see here.
Americans were lynched, murdered, beaten, and killed. You equate Capitol Hill rioters with receiving worse treatment than Americans during Jim Crow, which even some of the worst people who participated in that violence and beatings have come forward decades later and said, I was wrong. It is shameful that when this body ran for its life, when they had gallows for the vice president put outside, when they tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power, that you would equate those people to the folks that were victimized and terrorized by white nationalist organizations like the KKK. Sir, you have no decency. You have no honor. You say inflammatory things because it thinks it will ingratiate you to those who are paying your salary. And you sit here before me and try to wrap yourself in the American flag? Well, I believe in this nation. I believe in the principles. I believe in those who fought and died for our country. You disgrace that legacy and the ideals that we all swear an oath to uphold, that does not believe in one nation for one people and another people. Dear God, I pray for us if we let somebody like you represent us to the diverse nations of the world as representing the values of our country.
Senator, I absolutely deplore Jim Crow, but I do not agree with the characterization that you have done of my views.
Mr. Carl, I never thought I...
So the worst part about all that is that he's probably going to get confirmed. Probably. He's probably going to get confirmed. I don't know. It might be close. Confirmations are a majority vote. Nah, they're not subjected to the filibuster. So it wouldn't surprise me that he gets confirmed. And this is the point. This shit has become fucking normalized. Again, privileged white man in America, no member of any marginalized community, in particular the black community, need me to tell them that. They know. But this shit is just fucking normalized. It's just normalized. It's like, shit. Yeah, whatever. I'm a racist. Who fucking cares? I'll get the nomination. Then I'll just huddle with my other Klan cronies and just, carry my burning cross to other countries around the world and say, hey, this is what America stands for. And that shit is spreading. You're starting to see these little, similar types of views pop up here, pop up there. Nothing to see here. A bona fide fucking racist. He's admitting it in his testimony under the cover of language, but he's admitting it. And then once again, the right is going to defend it and say, well, we have to worry about this. This is the whole point. They don't see it. They don't see it. They get so triggered by the stolen land. Well, it wasn't stolen. It was conquered. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't stolen because, they didn't have a community. There were just tribes across the country. It wasn't stolen. It was conquered. Okay. You can continue to try to believe that. And again, there are people on the left that are so up in their fucking feelings that you don't want to put I can't vote for Gavin Newsom. Miss me with your fucking bullshit. Miss me with it. This is where we are. This is why this shit bothers me so much. That's just on the surface, a loud and proud approach to carrying the fucking water for racists. And now we've got people saying that food isn't a right. Food. That food isn't a right. Are you fucking kidding me? For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I was in a live yesterday and we were debating basically humanity. Why we spend $250 per American per year on food stamps. And people are thinking that's a bridge too fucking far. And this person was, you know what? We should just teach people how to grow food. Sure, let's just build gardens in densely populated areas when these poor people can't even afford a fucking stamp. I just want to remind folks of a little something. Hang on a second here if I can find it. Where's it? We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice to ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. That is the preamble to the Constitution. I asked that question yesterday, and in typical weak-ass, beta, bitch boy, weak-ass conservative men's response, their answer was, that's about individual freedom. Remember last week when I mentioned to you guys about this revelation? I think I always knew it, but it sort of showed up to me about how European, especially democratic socialist societies, their constitutions are built around the collective. They talk about the community's rights, about societal rights. Our Constitution is about the individual. And conservatives always talk about individual rights and freedoms. Now, for the pitifully weak cowardice libertarians who say, well, food isn't a right. I can grow my own food. I can go, skin my own deer. Then why can't other people do that too? Why should I have to pay for them? That is the fundamental difference between people on the right and people on the left. We see it every single day. I've said it a million times and it's been proven out true. There could be 100 people standing in front of me and I would know for a fact that 10 people are not eligible to get SNAP benefits, I don't give a fuck. I'd want them all to eat. And we saw it on full fucking display yesterday and every single day. The same 100 people could be standing in front of people on the right. Same scenario. 10 people are absolutely not deserving based on whatever, not getting their food stamps, their EBT, their SNAP benefits, and they don't want any of them to eat. This is what's happened. Food. General welfare, as defined, refers to the well-being of the population as a whole, rather than the interests of a specific individual or group. In legal language, it typically signals that laws or policies should promote public health, safety, prosperity, and the common good. General welfare. Secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity do ordain as established the United States. General welfare refers to the well-being of the population as a whole. How else can we interpret what they're saying other than full-on fucking racism? Full-on racism. That's what the SAVE Act is rooted in. White supremacy, racism, bigotry, misogyny, the patriarchy, every fucking, check the fucking list. And again, you're probably going to hear this a lot today. There are people on the fucking left that say, no way am I going to vote for Newsom. Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here then. I'm not interested. I would rather speak to somebody who genuinely feels disenfranchised by the government. Cannot find a home politically. Those are the people I'm going to talk to because they're not entitled. They're not selfish. But for somebody to make a statement like that now, 2 years out from the election, really? Do you not get it? Do you not understand? I am so tired of that entitlement. People's lives are at stake. People's lives are at stake. Yeah, Tracy, because you're a racist too. Pass the SAVE Act? Of course. You don't get it. Of course you would say that, Tracy, because you probably think what Jeremy Carl said is just no big deal. The SAVE Act is not going to pass. There's not enough votes in the Senate. Oh, and by the way, our brainiacs on the right, they seem to think, oh, I heard it. SAVE Act's going to pass. We got 50 votes plus J.D. Vance. No. It requires 60. The SAVE Act is about diminishment. Rural voters are going to be heavily impacted. It's not going to get the 60 votes. It's not about IDs. That's the right-wing messaging. It's not about an ID. It's about proof of citizenship. Your driver's license does not provide you with proof of citizenship. It does not. It does not. There's a very few documents that do. You put a financial barrier between a voter and their right to vote. That's a poll tax. It is unconstitutional. But again, our libertarians seem to really fucking care about the Constitution. Right. Got it. Good morning, Michael. How are you today?
Good. How are you, man?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Oh, I've been listening for a while, and a couple of things, but I actually had a question for you. I just want to pick your brain on this. How do you think, in the hypothetical scenario where the SAVE Act passes, how do you think that actually...
I don't like hypotheticals.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know.
I don't like hypotheticals. It's not going to pass.
I don't think it will either. I totally agree with you. It doesn't intuitively make sense to me.
What's your scenario?
It doesn't intuitively make sense to me how it would impact the vote, because a passport is like a luxury. Yeah, because a passport's like a thing that a lot of people in, say, like my red state don't have.
You're right. It would affect red states more and poor people more.
Right.
And we know that the poorer populations across the country happen to be in red states.
Yeah. And so it seems weird to me and almost unintuitive to disenfranchise your own base because brown people. You know what I mean? It seems bizarre.
Well, let's be real, not just brown people, but women.
Right. I mean, I agree with you.
Conservatives are deathly afraid of queens. Again, queens in the chat. They are petrified of you. So my request is that give them reason to be.
Yeah. I don't understand. I mean, I do intuitively understand the move. It's to disenfranchise those people, the less affluent, the women, people of color. I get that, but at the same time, I don't understand the strategy. It doesn't seem like it would benefit them in a voting standpoint. Does that make sense?
The strategy is, well, it does. The strategy is voter suppression. That is the strategy.
Sure.
Because you think about where they're targeting it. They're really going after swing states. They're saying Democrat states won't do this. And what they mean by that is they're not going to first of all, we're going to talk about it a little bit because the president's talked about an executive order. And yes, it's important to cover, but I don't want people to focus on it. I really don't. It is a distraction technique to try to avert the eyes from the Epstein files specifically. But to your point, it is a voter suppression tactic. And we know the only ways the Republicans can win elections is if they cheat. Plain and simple. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the full story.
I guess my only thought that even kind of made sense as this has played out has been, I agree, the SAVE Act is most likely not going to pass. The thing that I've seen since then has been the president saying that he was going to, one way or another, enact executive orders that are definitely going to enforce voter ID laws, which seems like just poll interference, which should be unconstitutional and not allowed. But
it is.
I feel like I keep saying that every other week since the beginning of 2025, and I feel like I'm going to continue to say that until the end of 2028.
Agreed. That's kind of my point. We've got a lot of work to do on the left to get the entitled nature of a lot of leftist voters to remind them what's at stake. But thanks for jumping in today, Dr. Michael. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Absolutely. You too.
Take care. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. Again, it's not going to pass. It's not going to pass. So, but that doesn't matter. They're going to try everything to try to steal the election. So we have to keep out. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Susie, are you there? It is desperation, plain and simple. Yeah, there are 19 states that currently do have voter ID requirements. It's not about ID, it's about proof of citizenship. And there are very few documents that you can get to provide proof of your citizenship. Your passport, birth certificate, things along those lines, right? Problem is, you cannot put a financial barrier. Now, if you wanted to introduce legislation where it became free, right? But that would require raising taxes. It might be right to actually spend a little time reading the Constitution to understand what these things are. Seriously. That's the whole fucking point. Anyway, we're going to talk about that a little bit more because I want to get into this whole thing about, the continued rhetoric connected to this. My mic went off? Hold on a second. Sorry. That's weird. Hold on. Is it back? What happened? Did it leave? Is it back? Is it back now? Is my mic back? Now it sounds like I'm in a tin can. It's not back. You hear me fine? No? Yes? You can hear? No? Mic's not back. Hold on a second. It did. You can still hear. It's fine. It just dropped. Is it back? Okay, hold on a second. Sound is through your phone. Is it back yet? Lost your mic. Okay. Anybody can I just get somebody in the mod chat to let me know if it's back? I'd appreciate that. You hear it just fine. Mic isn't. I think it's back now. It looks like it might be back based on a setting that changed. No, sounds like a tin can. No, it's not. Not back. Hang on a second. Sorry. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. Let me do this. Sounds like I'm in the bathroom. I'm not in the bathroom. I'm right here. Totally random. I'm going to keep going. I got it. That's fine. We'll figure it out. Hopefully it's back because it sounds like it is in my head, but or I should say it sounds normal in my head, but it may not be sounding to you guys. You can hear fine. I think it's back. It looks like it is. I don't know. Okay, whatever. Facts and shits. I'm not back. Fuck, because I can't play sound if it's not running through my phone. Just give me a second, guys. Hang on. Let me just do this real quick. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? Okay, hang on a second. I have an idea. Stand by. Stand by. Sorry, guys. Okay, that's... Yay, nay, just waiting patiently. What is patience? If I could just get a little guidance. Anybody, it sounds like it's just not normal. It's not back yet. I don't know what's going on. Better? Don't know. Not back. Still the same. Can't play any sounds. I can't play sound bites. We need that. Okay. Sounds good to you. Nope, not back. No. Okay. Thank you for that, Cookie. I appreciate you. Sound okay? It's good here. Never went away. So it seems like it's happening to some people and it's not happening to others. Are people hearing on YouTube? Can you guys hear okay over there? I didn't kick a plug out. No. I've tried unplugging and plugging everything back in. Yes, I've done all that. I don't know what's going on. I can still hear you just fine. Yeah, if you can't hear me through the microphone, though, we can't play the sound bites, which is frustrating. Mic is from the phone, not the real mic. All right, hang on a second. Hang on. Let me try one more thing. Have you tried unplugging and plugging? Yes, I did. Okay, hang on a second. Difficult to try there's a few things that I have to kind of get into today. Yeah, so everybody just be patient for a second. I think I might just try to restart. Hate to do that, but would you all come back? Would you guys all come back so I can try to fix something technically? If you guys would all come back, I'd appreciate that.
Me, I'm a hugger. You know, people try to dap me up.
Really appreciate you. Help us get back to the FYP, please. I would appreciate that. Everybody tap like crazy. Help us get back out there. Give her a little tap. I did. I gave her a little tap, a little spanking. Gentle touch. Consensual, of course. I'm just going to give folks a couple minutes to kind of scroll back in. Then we'll get back to our topic at hand because we got a lot of things that we still need to unpack today. So thank you guys for being here. If you wouldn't mind, tapping like crazy. Tapping is clapping. Liking is loving. Sharing is caring. If you've not yet done your daily, please do so. We are just like $1,300, $1,200 away from hitting our $2,000 towards our 25K goal. If you want to help us out with that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you guys very, very much. Somebody wants to start the dollar train. We had 1,800 people in here. If everybody gave $1, we'd easily bang out that goal and I wouldn't have to ask again. Just as a reminder, in case you're just joining us, you can find the link in the link tree to the first one you'll see would be the link to our Instagram page, which is the Do Something Tour. So thank you for that. Appreciate you being here. Yes, we're back. Okay. Let me talk about, I might as well shift gears while people are jumping in. So we got reporting last week from the Bureau of Labor, right? About a 2.4% inflation rate. And we can all celebrate that. The problem is there's a lot of questions about the reporting. Okay, so when over the course of the last year, the Bureau of Labor, I believe that this was strategic in advance of the tariffs because they knew full well that the tariffs were going to drive up the cost of goods and services, and they have. So they reduced the amount of data that they use to input. Case in point, in January of last year, 90% of the data was what's referred to as the home cell, meaning that they were using the similar statistics to report on data from previous administrations. Over the course of the summer, that has dropped from 90 down to 62 for January. What that means is they're not categorizing things the same way in an attempt to manipulate the numbers. So we can talk about the 2.4% inflation rate. The problem is when we start to look at the data, what we are seeing is the significance of why items being excluded has an impact on everything. So let me give you an idea. Let me see. Hang on one second. I just had this queued up. The all items category is listed at 2.4%. The problem with that is because when you're talking about the things that are considered core inflation, thank you, Kelly, that are considered core inflation, which are energy and food, those two things are significantly higher. Case in point, food stands at 2.9%, but if you break things down within that category, for example, food away from home sits at 4%. Yes, gas prices are down to the tune of nearly 7.5%, but energy overall is up 6.3% for electricity, and natural gas into your home is up nearly 10%. So this is the same problem that Captain Pickle, sweet. That's so nice. You're so sweet. This is the same problem the Biden administration has. The Biden administration, although yes, there were significant drops in inflation during the Biden administration, but they didn't speak to it that way. They spoke to it, look how much the inflation rate has come down, and it did. The problem is that prices were still up. So American consumers were like, what the fuck? Sure, the inflation rate's down, but my costs are up exponentially. The difference between what the Biden administration did and what the Trump administration is doing is affordability was a hoax. So when you look at your energy bill in red states, you're going to notice that your energy costs are higher, not just your gas price. You're also going to notice that your food in this particular category, food away from home, up 4%, full service meals and snacks up 4.7%, non-alcoholic beverages and beverage materials up 4.5%, cereals and bakery products up 3.1%. So this is why this hand wringing regarding the Fed is dangerous. The target is 2%. Now they're going to be putting in a new Fed chair, and that person is obviously going to march to the direction of the president, and you're going to start to see interest rates likely cut because of things like this, and it's going to blow up the entire economy. Tariffs are a tax. We know it. There's a massive fucking discrepancy in what we're paying and what's being produced, which again goes back to the legitimacy of sources. Okay? And more importantly, the degradation of humanity to save 20 cents a gallon in gas, or 30 cents or whatever it is. My gas prices are cheaper. Do you care about ICE murdering people in the streets of American cities? Nah, my gas prices are cheaper. Do you care that the president's a racist? Nope, my gas prices are cheaper. Do you care that there are people that you vote with that say that food isn't a human right? Nope, my gas prices are cheaper. So where we sit. So start to be very critical of things. You should anytime. It's not, to me, it's not even an issue of whether or not you should believe the government data. I'd like to be able to, but this administration has done nothing but lie to the American people. They used the previous government shutdown as a means to say, well, the information's missing because of Democrats. Nope. Yeah, you're right. You can't eat gas. Is gas a right? If gas is a right, then food certainly is, right? Which again goes back to bullshit regarding the SAVE Act and the rhetoric that comes from the right, because they want to say that our elections are rigged. The elections are rigged by the people who are rigging them, which is the gerrymandering and suppression of votes. Illinois, see, this is how objective you can be. Illinois, a highly gerrymandered state, no doubt about it. Texas, a highly gerrymandered state. Fundamental difference between those two is that Illinois did it in line with the census, which is considered legal, shouldn't be. Texas decided no, and that's going to blow back in their face. Okay? California left it up to the voters. The reason that the Republicans are so fucking scared is because they know they are facing a situation where they're going to lose 30 seats, maybe. I think the Senate is significantly in play, which is part of why I want to visit North Carolina and Maine on my tour. And I think Georgia is, I'm not going to say it's safe because nothing is safe anymore, but Georgia seems like it's in pretty good hands. And then there's, I think Mary Peltola has got a really good chance of winning that Senate seat in Alaska. She's incredibly popular. She's the one representative from Alaska. And here we are. She's gaining momentum, all these kinds of things, right? It comes back to, who do we trust? So when Democrats take power, I want the labor secretary brought into hearings and answer questions about the data. This is the point, okay? So going back to the SAVE Act, a lot of this has to do with bullshit lies that have been told by the Republicans in Congress. In particular, you're going to hear from Bitch Boy.
Broad claim that the
Hold on.
fraud.
Hang on one second. Let me start this from the beginning. So you're going to hear Chris Steyerwalt is going to explain to you a little bit about how what's referred to as the red mirage. We've discussed it before, has to do with how states count their votes, because again, in our constitutional system, although our friends on the right don't understand this, right? They don't understand this, that states run governments. How funny, the states' rights crowd now suddenly want the federal government to take over elections because Donald Trump told them so. So before I get into the sound that I want to play from Mike Johnson, everybody keep tapping and sharing. Friends, there'll still be 1,000 people in here. If we started the dollar train, we could hit 3,000. We could hit $3,000 by the end of the show today, and that would be the first level that we need to get to start to think about making some reservations for things. So thank you guys, I appreciate you. All right. This is what the president had to say about this. Again, there's executive orders coming. I don't want you to be, I want you to be aware, but I don't want you to focus on it because it's all just a distraction. Here we go.
We cannot let the Democrats get away with no voter ID any longer. These are horrible, disingenuous cheaters. They have all sorts of reasons why it shouldn't be passed, and then boldly laugh in the back rooms after their ridiculous presentations. If it weren't such a serious matter, it would be considered a total joke. No voter ID is even crazier and more ridiculous than men playing in women's sports, open borders, or transgender for everyone. Republicans must put this at the top of every speech. It is a can't miss for re-election in the midterms and beyond. Even Democrat voters agree. 85% say that there should be voter ID. It's only the political leaders, crooked losers like Schumer and Jeffries, that have no shame and explain why it's racist and every other thing that they can think of. This is an issue that must be fought and must be fought now. If we can't get it through Congress, there are legal reasons why this scam is not permitted. I will be presenting them shortly in the form of executive order. I hope the Supreme Court realizes, as they painstakingly review the very simple topic of country-saving tariffs, those same tariffs that have been used by other countries against the USA to drain us of our treasury and security for many years, and all sorts of other things that are making our country rich, powerful, and safe again. That these corrupt and deranged Democrats, if they ever gain power, will not only be adding 2 states to our roster of 50, don't tempt me with a good time, with all of the baggage there too, there also will be a pack-the-court demand with a total of 21 Supreme Court justices. Their dream, which they will submit easily and rapidly when they immediately move to terminate the filibuster, probably in their first week or sooner. Our country will never be the same if they allow these demented and evil people to knowingly and happily destroy it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Save America, President Donald J. Trump.
Adding 2 states, I'll leave that up to Puerto Rico, but D.C., certainly. Packing the court, I don't know where 21 came from, but 13 to align with the circuits. Okay. I'm good there. And then what else? Terminate the filibuster? Sign me the fuck up. No problem. So this entire thing is based on their fear. As we discussed before, it's rooted in race. It's rooted in racism. They're afraid of women. Once again, queens, they are so fucking afraid of you. They do not want your voices heard. They don't want you to vote. They don't want you to vote. So this entire thing comes down to the fact that the Trump administration supports violating the Constitution. Plain and simple. So here's the breakdown of the red mirage.
50 years, let's say, that Americans have increasingly chosen to vote by mail or early or absentee, Democrats prefer that method of voting more than Republicans do. So basically, in every election, Republicans win election day and Democrats win the early vote. And then you wait and start counting, and it depends on which ones you count first, but usually it's election day votes that get counted first. And you see the Republicans shoot ahead, and then the process of bailing and binding and unbinding all those mail-in votes. And some states like Pennsylvania refuse to count the votes first, so you have to wait for all of that to come in. So in every election, certainly a national election, you expect to see the Republican with a lead, but it's not really a lead. When you put together a jigsaw puzzle, it doesn't matter which piece you put in first, it ends up with the same image. So for us, who cares? But that's because no candidate had ever tried to avail themselves of this quirk in the election counting system. We had gone to pains, and I'm proud of the pains we went to make sure that we were informing viewers that this was going to happen, because the Trump campaign and the president had made it clear that they were going to try to exploit this anomaly. And we knew it was going to be bigger because the percentage of early votes was higher, right? We went from about 45% of the votes being early and absentee to, because of the pandemic, that increased by about 50%. So we knew it would be longer, we knew it would be more. So we wanted to keep telling viewers, hey, look, the number that you see here is sort of irrelevant because it's only a small percentage of these votes.
Right out of the box on election night, the president claimed.
And this part is Bill Barr testifying during the investigation into Donald Trump attempting to steal the election in 2020. Okay? So this is he's being testified by being questioned by Jack Smith and his team. And this is interesting.
That there was major fraud underway. I mean, this happened, as far as I could tell, before there was actually any potential of looking at evidence. And it seemed to be based on the dynamic that at the end of the evening, a lot of Democratic votes came in, which changed the vote counts in certain states. And that seemed to be the basis for this broad claim that there was major fraud. And I didn't think much of that because people had been talking for weeks and everyone understood for weeks that that was going to be what happened on election night.
System, the states have been in charge.
Okay, this is Mike Johnson now. So again, the story is the way in which votes were tabulated, because every state runs their elections in different ways, right? Some count absentee and or mail-in as they come in. Some count them, some wait till election day to count them. Some count them after the same day votes. That's why each states run their elections the same way. Now, again, should states look at how they count? That's up to the state, right? Because that's how the Constitution works. It's very clearly laid out. I think it's the 10th Amendment of how states run elections. Could be the 10th, could be I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Either way, the way in which voting habits over the years have evolved is that a lot of Democrat voters vote early through absentee and or through mail-in, and a lot of Republican voters tend to vote same day. So when you're counting same day votes, you create this gap because you're counting same day votes. And again, the majority of votes for Republicans seem to come in on same day. It is the 10th. Thank you, Iowa. So that's how we get to this point, right? That's how we get to this point. So even Bill Barr acknowledges, well, it's just because how the votes came in. And here's fucking bitch boy doubling down.
Of administering their elections. What you're hearing from the president is his frustration about the lack of some of the blue states, frankly, of enforcing these things and making sure that they are free and fair elections. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on election day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost.
So that's the story, and that's what a lot of this has to do with. This has been studied for decades. The percentage of fraudulent votes is like 0.00005%, something to that effect. Minuscule, absolute minuscule. So in typical conservative fashion, what they want to do is to create a solution for a problem that does not exist. It just doesn't exist. It's just not something that is on anyone's radar. So I'm going to play you now. This goes back to, if I can find this. This is from a few years ago. This is Tom Hartman interviewing Paul Weyrich, and they talk about this. Actually, I see I got a request before I play that. Let me bring up Obi.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Hello there.
How are you, sir?
I'm well. I was just coming up for a couple of things. One, to see how you're doing.
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Okay.
Thank you for yesterday.
Yeah.
Thank you for yesterday. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, by the way, because somehow there was like 560 people in that live.
It was wild, right?
That was fucking crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes palate cleansing, I guess, is also healing. So, yay.
Indeed.
So, maths.
Oh,
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. And Francis already put this comment in there. So now we have to explain counting. Dear Republicans, no one is in the lead until it is all said and done, or as they say in the UK, done and dusted, right? I will give some basic...
do you play... does a Major League Baseball game have 7 innings or 9?
Well, okay. By the rules, 9 innings may be played.
Correct.
But there could be 10, 11, 12, 13, because the game's not over until it's over, right? And what that means is...
Like NFL football game has 4 quarters or 3?
4, unless there's overtime, right? Because it's a tied game, right? Which gets to counting, right?
Correct. Go ahead. Proceed. Sorry, didn't want to derail you, but that's my point.
Yes, you. Okay. So I know it's been a long time since Mike Johnson has been in elementary school, but let's say that I take all of the checkers chips off the board and I stack them together, right? Now we know that on the board we will now consider same-day voting, right? So we know if we just look at the board that there's going to be X amount of chips, right? that doesn't mean that anything's done, because there's more than one board, right? There are all sorts of other boards that states have set up, and do keep in mind, Republicans, that your state determines how those other boards are tabulated, right? So you may think someone has a lead, right? But a lead numerically by counting does not mean that they are winning. It just means as you count currently, they have more votes. But more votes does not mean winning. They try to conflate sports analogy speak, because they think that's for the common man, with basic arithmetic. Basic arithmetic teaches you that until the process of counting is completed, it's not done. So if you don't like the fact that your state counts in a particular direction, maybe they do mail-in ballots first, maybe they do them last, I would like to remind the Republicans that there have been multiple times in the United States history where there's been mail-in ballot voting and Republicans have controlled state legislators, right? But they've never passed laws. This has never been a problem. In states where there's only mail-in voting, you know what no one complains about? Mail-in voting, right?
Correct.
So this myth, this lie, like the one Mike Johnson believes that they're going to gain seats. That's fucking hilarious. You can't make something nefarious just by saying, oh, well, there's a point where votes are being counted and then all of a sudden their lead is chipped away. They don't have a lead. This is not sports. This is counting, right? There is no lead. Stop believing the bullshit. When the counting is done, there is a winner and there is a loser, because one person had more things counted for them than another person. But that doesn't mean that their lead gets chipped away, because they can't have a lead until all the votes are counted.
That's right. Now, I wouldn't mind if states could say, okay, like I think California, Pennsylvania are states that really take a long time for them to count votes. Now, I think that at the state level, they could certainly address that. But again, we're talking about trying to solve a problem. We're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist.
Right. To be fair, right, we do have an awful lot of people that vote.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a curse. This is a curse in California. The reason why it takes us so long is because everybody fucking votes here. Like the percentage of persons, and I can't remember what it is, but I think we have one of the lowest percentages of persons that don't vote in the United States.
True.
Even in midterms, right?
It is true.
Now, because we get a vote by mail, by the way, right?
That's right.
From the comfort of one's lazy boy recliner, they can exercise their constitutionally guaranteed right that should not be infringed, much like the two-wayers like to say, right? A poll tax is infringement.
If we can pay our taxes and we can pay our mortgages via our cell phones, why can't we vote that way?
And by the way, you know who I am professionally as well as personally, and we are brothers and family. Now, you know that a company like mine could literally invent a secure way of voting online. And I'm going to use a term, do not crypto bro me. But smart contracts are done on chain. And smart contracts are how a lot of large financial transactions are done in certain businesses, including interest rate derivative trades, which are really complicated. But smart contracts now exist for any number of reasons, including real estate transactions, right? So we could We could literally do it because if the chain is public, everyone would be able to see the auditing results, and the tabulation would be instant.
Correct.
Right? So as somebody votes, as soon as the official clock starts, you would be able to see, right? And you could allow persons to avail their votes if they wanted to. Right now, votes are all anonymous, right?
Yes.
So no one gets to know.
Yeah.
But the beauty of technology is if you don't care, maybe not specifically who you vote for, maybe your party, obviously we'd have to protect your address. We could do this, and guess what? Within 24 hours, right? With the exception of those who would have to mail in, those in the military are always going to take a little more time, and fuck it, they've earned it, right?
Sure, exactly.
But
you're right.
But those votes don't sway elections because there's not that many.
Exactly. I mean, I think the point is, like I said before, and I appreciate your perspective on this. They're creating attempting to create a solution for a problem that does not exist.
Yes,
plain and simple.
Right. Yeah. And here's the thing. And Erica's brought this. Just one last thing I want to talk about. Erica's brought this up before, and we've talked about this. Right. Why do we make getting a passport in the United States so fucking punitive as compared to the rest of the fucking world? Right. Here's the thing. For the amount of taxes that the 99% have to pay because we have no choice currently, it should literally be a process where you already have access to our data. You already know that we're born here. Don't fucking pretend you don't know. We're goddamn paying taxes with the social security number. ITINs present a different problem, right?
Correct. Exactly.
Just issue us fucking passports, right? And then let's just say, if you can afford $100, you pay $100. If you can afford 50, you pay 50. If you can't afford 50, it's fucking free. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to hear.
Yeah, it is a poll tax issue, so we'd have to navigate through that. It would have to be free to avoid the poll tax.
No. I'm not saying for voting. I'm not saying for voting. I'm saying
I know that, but no, I get. Hang on one second. If it's required to vote, though, if you need proof of citizenship to vote, then that would be a poll tax. So
I don't support that at all. What I'm saying is just everybody else in the world gets passports, and they're fucking dirt cheap, and they're easy to do, right?
Yeah.
If we did this, if we had programs like this, my point is they still would fucking find a way to bitch, because then they'd say like, no, passports don't count.
Exactly. It's got to be free. At the end of the day, if you want to pass legislation and say every United States citizen gets a passport, the government pays for it, I would support that. But it's got to be free.
Me too.
There can't be any income tiers. It has to be free. Thank you as always, my dude. I appreciate you very much.
I'll be going live when you're done going live.
All right, man. I love you.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Appreciate you. Peace out.
Peace. See ya. No, Obi and I are not actual brothers. We are just brothers. Got you? Okay. All right. Yeah. Again, sure. Just to kind of land this, I'm going to play the sound too, because this is very, very interesting about how this has been a tactic by the right for a very long time, because they can't win elections unless they cheat. Plain and fucking simple. We know that. This is about basic constitutional principle of the poll tax. You cannot put a financial barrier between a citizen and the right to vote. It is against the law. It's not about voter ID. It's about proof of citizenship. I forget the number, but 45%. Here's a quick survey. There's 1,100 people in here. If you have a passport, put 1 in the chat. Okay? If you have a passport, put 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2. I'm just curious about something, because this is one of those things. Like, people would only get a passport if they need a passport, right? So, look, here it is. This is kind of proving my point. A passport is one of the things that would prove your citizenship. Look at all the 2s, right? And then similarly with birth certificates. There are many people that don't have that either. So that's just an example, right? So it's not about voter ID. This is about proof of citizenship, okay? It's interesting because I know a lot of people might be celebrating President's Day today, and I know a lot of schools are closed. This is a vacation week. In Vermont, because we just have to be different. Our school holiday is next week because we have what's referred to as town meeting day, which is always the first Tuesday in March, right? It's also sugaring season up here very, very soon. So there's that. The reason I bring it up is because it is a voter registration drive. For a lot of folks that aren't registered, a lot of people will be registering people to vote on town meeting day, because town meeting day during an election year is also Super Tuesday. Vermont is a Super Tuesday state. So there's a lot going on. Our town meeting is great, like old schools, school buildings, fire stations, wherever they can gather the community. And I go every single year, and I always raise a stink. Shocker. So once again, just to land this plane, this is not about voter ID. This is about voter suppression, and this is about voter citizenship. So I'm going to play this sound again. This is Tom Hartman. This goes back years, but this is like 13 years ago. But it speaks to exactly what we're discussing right now. So here you go. I know you're shocked that I raised a kerfuffle. I know, right?
Oh, the right wing is all hysterical because a group that tries to register people to vote used to be called the WWWP, the Women's whatever it was, voters registration thing. Anyhow, this group is sent out voter registration forms to a mailing list of a couple 100,000 people that they bought from a commercial company that represented them as being people who were eligible to vote. And, of course, always on lists like this. I mean, you know, my cat has gotten a credit card application. Always on lists like this, you have odd things. Well, Drudge was pointing to this morning, so I guarantee you this is what talk radio on the right is going to be all about today. So I just want to, you know, put this down. Yes, voter registration applications were mailed to a couple 100,000 people, you know, with the idea that if they're legally entitled to vote, they should register.
This is 13 years ago, so just keep that in mind. Again, this is Tom Hartman.
And some of the people who received those were not legally eligible to vote. Okay? True. And if somebody who's not eligible to vote fills one of those out and submits it, they've committed a crime. So it's pretty unlikely it's going to happen. But let me ask the question. I mean, nobody's going to the second level of logic here. Just thinking this through. Is what Drudge is suggesting, and all the right-wing talk show hosts that you'll hear today who are all hysterical about this, are they suggesting that it should be really hard to get a voter registration form? I mean, it seems to me that if you want maximum participation in a democracy, voting registration forms should be on a pad at 7-Eleven. Tear one off, take it home, fill it in. If you're eligible to vote, but you haven't registered, it should be easy.
Totally agree.
And well, but what about voter fraud? Well, that's not voter fraud. Voter fraud is when you show up and vote when you're not eligible to vote.
Correct.
Or when you've registered to vote when you're not eligible to vote. People who do that, they're committing a crime.
Correct.
If you register to vote when you're not eligible, you commit a misdemeanor. If you vote and you're not eligible, you commit a felony.
That is correct.
So I'm telling you, people are.
So think about that for a second. So the claims that the right likes to make, you know, the racist, bigoted conservatives who want to kind of say there's nothing, you know, fraud. What they don't understand is the communities that they are demonizing, undocumented, for example, why would they risk deportation by breaking a federal law, voting in a federal election, which is against the law? You see what I mean? So yes, this is racist, the SAVE Act. Yes, it targets marginalized communities, no doubt about it, and women. It is a problem that does not exist. They are trying to tell you that. Why do you think they want to talk about executive orders to say we're going to nationalize elections? Where are you states' rights libertarians? Where the fuck are you? All we ever fucking hear is states' rights, brother. That's all we ever hear. It's all we ever hear. And a basic tenet of the Constitution in the 10th Amendment is that states run their federal elections. But now you want to nationalize it? Why? Oh, I know why. I know why. Because your daddy told you so. and they keep telling you they're going to put ICE agents at polling locations. Listen, friends, they're going to do what they're going to do. The question for you is, how do you respond? How do you respond to it? What are you going to do about that? Are you going to show up and vote like your life depends on it? Because it does. Yours may not, but somebody else's does. Let them do what they're going to fucking do. Overwhelm the polls. If you have an opportunity to vote on election day, that may be good. But I want to encourage you to use the mail because it is the most safest and most secure system we have. Do it. Do it. Let them talk about their fucking bullshit and just blow them away in the midterms. I'd love to see, can you imagine if 70% of the registered voting population showed up? It's one of my missions. I'm going to do something tour, is to get more people to register to vote. If they're not registered, or if they are registered and they're just not voting, can you imagine what a personal goal of mine is to get 5,000 people registered to vote if they've not voted? That's a personal goal. It's not the targeted goal of the Do Something Tour. The Do Something Tour is just about conversations with people and getting people to re-engage. But can you imagine? Can you imagine if we got a big push like that? States like Florida, states like Texas, with massive voter suppression tactics going on, the electoral map looks different, and so does our society. I mentioned this last week. Samuel Alito will be retiring this year, okay? And he will be likely retiring before Election Day because he's got a book coming out. Anybody who's ever written a book, when the book is released, you go on tour to support the book. The release of his book coincides with the fall judicial term of the SCOTUS. He's going to be replaced by a younger, more radical, extreme right-wing judge. Think of somebody like an Aileen Cannon. Somebody like that will be on the Supreme Court, right? So, if you are not yet motivated to vote, keep that in mind. And again, entitled leftists, you are part of the problem. Don't let it happen again. Thank you.
We're not going to do it. This is an entirely reasonable thing to send voter registration applications to a large number of people, trying to hit as many people as possible. And yes, mail lists will have my cat on them and dead people. It doesn't mean that my cat is going to fill out the voter registration form. You know, you all just take a deep breath and think about it for a minute. Don't you think that it's better to have more of us having access to voter registration forms? You know, a lot of people don't even know how to register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know where to go to register to vote. They don't know where they don't know how to get an application to register to vote. I think this is a good thing. In fact, frankly, I think that when you get your tax return back from the IRS, you get any kind of correspondence from the IRS, there should be a voter registration form in there. I mean, let's put them out to everybody.
Agreed.
In fact, I think you should be able to register to vote by printing the thing off a website and filling it in and mailing it in, or even doing it electronically. Again, if you're doing it illegally, you're going to go to jail.
Correct.
And that's a pretty damn strong incentive, which is why there have been fewer people. The number of people, we had a caller earlier in the week who shared this number it's incredible. Number of people who were busted for illegally voting last year, nationwide, 35. 35 people. Most of them either people who were felons who didn't realize that they couldn't vote, but 35. Had lost the right to vote as a felon.
35.
Or people who were voting on behalf of their spouse. They're divorced, their spouse has Alzheimer's, they just, their spouse said, hey, you fill it out for me, whatever. Virtually all of those people fell into those two categories, but still 35 people last year were busted for illegally voting. Number of people who died from TVs falling on them, 36.
I'll pause right there. Have a couple requests. We'll get back to it in just a second. 35. 35. 35. This was again 13 years ago. Do you not see through it? Voter fraud ain't a thing. And what the conservatives want to tell you is even one instance of voter fraud is one too many. Okay. You find me any system where there's no incidences of fraud. I mean, just look in the Oval Office. We see fraud every fucking day. I mean, literally, you cannot possibly remove everything. But once again, just like we've talked about in regards to the trans community, right? A non-issue A demographic of people who just want to live their lives, and every single time the president opens his mouth, he uses words like transgender for everyone and men and women's sports. There are fewer trans athletes in the NCAA than there are predators in the cabinet. Debate it. I'm so fucking tired of just the lies that they tell you over non-issues. They're going to tell you this. They're going to try to intimidate you. They're going to try to tell you that this is a problem, that the executive order, it's fucking noise. Pay attention to it, but it's just noise.
You tell me that this is a big enough problem, illegal voting, that we need to kick 5 million people off the voting rolls?
It's more than
to
that
stop
now.
35 people from voting illegally?
Exactly.
Really? You're going to try and tell me that?
Exactly. Again, this is 13 years old.
It's... but Acorn got busted in Nevada for violating the voter registration laws. Yes, they did. The law said you can't pay people. You can pay people by the hour to go out and get voter registrations, but you can't pay them by the registration.
Correct.
Because that would be an incentive to commit fraud.
Correct.
And that local Acorn chapter had said if you register more than 20 people an hour, you get a $5 bonus. They got busted for it. The guy got fired. They paid a fine. But nobody was illegally registered to vote.
Correct.
And nobody voted who wasn't eligible to vote. Again, it's hysteria.
Yeah, I forgot about that Acorn thing too, and it reminded me again that you just heard the story. They created it. I don't think they did it nefariously. They just said, let's get more people registered. You got a bonus if you got 20. They got arrested. They got busted. People went to fucking jail. People lost their jobs. But nobody who was ineligible to vote voted.
And it's not even hysteria. This is actually very methodical, very carefully planned out. Paul Weyrich laid it out from the get-go. Here he is in 1980 talking to, when he was helping run the Reagan campaign. Here he is.
Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome. Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
There you go.
There you go.
And amazing. Richard in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, a minute to the end of the show.
I mean, there you go. And then we get Jim chirping in the chat. What Biden let in all those people to illegally vote? Jim, booby. Normally, I would let the chat play with the food, but I'm going to address you directly. I know you don't bother to read. So when I speak, I'm speaking to you, and I'll speak slowly, Jim. Only citizens can vote in federal elections. Jim, I just sent you a request because I saw you chirping, and I find it funny that you didn't take that request. I wonder why. Maybe it's because you know you're wrong. Maybe it's because you don't want to get embarrassed. Maybe we could find a sock for you, Jim, because it doesn't happen. It's a non-issue. Now, if you want to say, oh, you said it never happens, then I would ask you, how many times has it happened? Don't matter. It happened. Okay. Sure. No problem. 0.000005%, roughly. Less than 100. This has been studied. This has been researched. You're just wrong. And for those of you who are choosing to believe this too, it just shows you how gullible you are. When we tell you you're in a cult, it's because of this shit. Okay? A lot of the incidences we have of voter fraud happen to be from U.S. citizens. There was that whole situation in Georgia where a Republican official got busted for voting for his mother. Mark Meadows, former chief of staff of the president, got busted for voting in 2 separate locations. It's a non-fucking issue. So stop believing it. I know it seems simple, but just fucking stop. Just Tina Peters, perfect example. Just stop. It's just stupid. It's a non-issue. I'm going to use your own I'm going to use your own rhetoric. All right. You love to talk, even though you don't understand the two-way. You love to talk shall not be infringed. What is a more important right to you? Right? Is the right to vote more important, or is the Second Amendment more important? Now, if you want to say the two-way is more important, okay. But a constitutional right to vote is just that, a constitutional right. But you are willing to disenfranchise, take the rights away from people because you've not read the SAVE Act. You don't know what it means. You don't understand it. You have been told it's because of illegals. That's what you have been told. You are wrong about that because there are already systems in place. Now, once again, it does not mean that there has not been instances of voter fraud, but it is so fucking small. It's never been election determinative. It's been studied, it's been researched, it's been investigated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The President of the United States is still telling you to this day that tens of thousands of dead people voted. It's just not fucking true. It is a lie. It is an absolute lie, but you're believing it. I'm going to pause for just a second and just remind people of a couple of things. When we talk about things in terms of the cult, what the right is trying to do now is to say that the Democrats are the cult. So the question that I would ask them is this. Every single cult, historically, every one, you could include the Mormon Church, you could include the Branch Davidians, you could talk about the Heaven's Gate, you could talk about Waco, you could talk about the Moonies, you could talk about the Children of God sex cult, all of them. What's the one thing they all have in common? Exactly, Rory. You can tell the one thing that they all have in common is a centralized leader. There's always one person that they can point to who's the head of the cult. MAGA has Donald Trump. Anybody that's in here right now, anybody who's in here, whether it be the Jims of the world or the other chirpers, tell me who the leader of the Democrat Party is right now. Go ahead. Tell me. Go ahead. We'll wait. Who is it? Who is it? Who's the leader? Me? Sure. No problem. Who is it, though? Who is the leader? You could ask Democrats who the leader is. They couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you who I think the leader is. Schumer? Definitely not Schumer. Who is it? See what I mean? This is the point, right? And it's not a game. My chat's too smart for that. They're thinking it through, right? They're thinking it through. There is none. There's clearly a leader in the Republican Party, and that is Donald Trump. Therefore, when we say MAGA is a cult, it's not just because about the behavior of the people in it, but by definition, they fit the bill. So here we are once again, the cult leader telling people that there's voter fraud. And his followers will believe it, even though the evidence is overwhelming against it. Sorry. Hate to tell you, but you're just wrong again. And it's easy to call out your bullshit. Hey, Chris, how are you, friend?
Hey, Steve, how we doing?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Well, one thing is, for these people, this whole voter fraud thing, for enough fraud to be committed to actually change the outcome of an election, especially a presidential election, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of votes. So you're going to have a lot of people involved. You really think that many people being involved in that kind of thing would keep a secret?
No.
It's not possible. The Heritage Foundation, which is a right-wing think tank, did a study of 26 years of elections. They found, I think, 74 cases of voter fraud in 26 years of election. It came out to 0.00000002% of all votes count.
There you go.
So I mean,
that's a Heritage Foundation.
That's a Heritage Foundation.
The authors of Project 2025,
right?
By the way,
not a left-wing think tank by any stretch of the imagination. But
exactly.
I think one of the biggest problems is far too many people don't vote in this country. I think what we should do what they do in Australia. If you don't vote, you get fined.
I wouldn't mind considering legislation like that, to be honest with you. Or again, if we want things to change, then we've got to be willing to change things.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest fear the Republicans have is too many people voting because they cannot run on policy. They can only run on fear. They have to make people be afraid of things that there's no reason to be afraid of. Why are you afraid of trans athletes? Like you said, there are less trans athletes than people who get killed by televisions falling on them every year. Who cares? How does it affect your life? But that's the problem. They always get people all wound up about stuff that does not affect their life in any way, shape, or form. It's just, let's scare them. It's all about fear. That's a whole Republican platform. Fear, fear, fear.
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
So the fact is everybody who's out there who's worried about the midterms, you know how to counteract that? Get your ass out there and vote. That's how you counteract everything.
Absolutely. Good call, my friend. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here.
Take
Be
care.
safe out there, kid.
You too.
See you later.
Bye.
All right, bye. He's right. It's kind of the whole point, isn't it? That's the whole point. Is there, you can't deny most can't. The numbers are, again, it's election determinative or results determinative. And Obi's right. It's like anything else. I think back to the Falcons fans. I think back to the Super Bowl when the Pats beat the Falcons 28-3. If the game ended at halftime, then the Patriots would not be a 6-time Super Bowl champ. Game didn't end at halftime. What's the difference? And I think this is what happens is that MAGA looks at it as a game. It's not a fucking game. The game is over when all the votes are counted. It's that simple. But I don't want to leave it to chance. Part of do something is reminding people once again to re-engage. Do you believe that food is a right? I think if you asked the majority of people in our country, the majority, if food is a right, I don't even think I could get the words out of my mouth and they would say, abso-fucking-lutely, food is a right. Absolutely. But no, that's a bridge too far. Literally listening to people say that food is a right. Here we sit. Oh, this hero. Need to talk to this guy. Thank you for answering numerous bat calls yesterday, my guy. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I actually just came up because of what you said, because we saw it in real time yesterday. Because
we sure did.
I was able to get them to walk right up to the line, agree with every part of us, every part of what I was saying, except for that last bit, the important bit. Like, how many times did I get them to acknowledge it's not the person on Snap's fault they're on Snap, it is the employer who can afford to pay them more. And they're like, well, you're right, but...
It was amazing. I know you were there, I think, for that whole, where they said that food wasn't a right. I think you were there for that part, weren't you? Were you there on the panel during that?
That's when I got summoned. So we were watching you from elsewhere. We were doing that thing that a lot of people have been doing lately. In fact, I arrived there because I heard that conversation happening. And I was like working on a project at the house, and I was sitting with my friends, and I got mad because I just got mad, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going over that. And they're like, you don't go to MAGA panels. I'm like, I'm making an exception this time. I'm going over there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, exactly. You did a great work. I mean, Crow took them through the mechanism and the process, and even an expert in the field. For those of you who don't follow Crow, please do. And I want to give you a chance to plug your stuff. He literally walked them up, like he said, laid the entire thing out, how it works, what the qualifications are, what research he does to determine citizenship and eligibility in the same process over and over and over and over again, and it wasn't enough. But food isn't a right.
Well, I think my favorite part of that entire endeavor was when that person was insisting undocumented migrants were getting SNAP. So she pulled up the website for Oregon, and the third line says certain eligible
immigration status. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And I'm like, ma'am, please read the third sentence again. She's like, well, I know what it says, but I know what's actually happening. I'm like, what? Your own source says different.
Yeah, literally, she was trying to refute everything that Crow was saying, and literally the language of the site that she showed, her source talked about eligibility and requirements for citizenship, and she says, well, I know what it says, but it's happening. And we're like, forget it, we're done. It was fucking wild. Do you want to pitch your various programs that you do to help people, my guy?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, if you want to just like support me straight, just go to thequilletary.com. I make rad merch for rad people. But what Steve's talking about is in my free time. By day, I'm a social programs worker. I help people get food, housing, shelter, all that stuff. By night, I do the same thing in my free time for free. I run a website called needhasnoparty.org. On there, you'll find a link to a Discord. That Discord is the Lighthouse. If you enter there, while we aren't in a position to like do mutual aid, because like shit's tight everywhere. I ain't got a mutual aid fund set up. What we exist to do is help you navigate social programs, maybe find some programs that you don't know even exist in your area. I've been gathering up social programs workers from throughout the country to help people understand programs they may be eligible for, reasons their case may have been denied that it shouldn't have been, things of that nature. And that's everything from SNAP to education to we even have people there for people in domestic situations. Whatever your need is, come to needhasnoparty.org.
And the link to the Lighthouse is in the link tree that's in my bio as well. So thanks again, bro, for doing the work. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no worries, brother.
Have you. See you later. Be good. Again, it was an amazing experience. It was an amazing experience because here he is, literally the expert, refuting every single claim that they made, every single one. And because of cognitive dissonance and hatred towards brown-skinned people, they just were unwilling to accept it. Someone who was screaming and yelling, saying it's fraud, they're taking advantage of it. Her own source refuted the claim. Her own source refuted the claim when it literally says immigration status. It was unbelievable. And that's part of that same conversation was food isn't a right. Fucking wild. So wild. CMB, how are you today? Hello? CMB, are you there? I guess not. We are fighting for humanity. Pro-lifers are the biggest culprits in all this. Literally just saying that food isn't a right. You ask the question, like, what would happen if that person didn't have food? And then they said, well, the church would take them in. Really? How many churches denied formula for nursing mothers? How many churches? What was that number? Right? What was that number? Too many. More than one is too many. Could be a church next door. They would say no. Somebody came knocking on my door. If they had formula, I would absolutely give it to them, wouldn't you? But apparently the food is a bridge too far. And isn't it weird that people like me and those of us that are on the left are referred to as radical? Why? Because we see healthcare, food, water, and shelter as human rights? Well, that's not, water ain't in the Constitution. Okay, but general welfare is. The well-being of the population as a whole, rather than the interests of a specific individual or group. In legal language, it signals that laws or policies should promote public health, safety, prosperity, and the common good. Can you have a healthy public without food or water or shelter or health care? No. Are you safe if you don't have food or water or health care or shelter? No. Can you be prosperous if you don't have food or water or shelter or health care? No. Wouldn't the common good include being able to have food and water and shelter and health care? Yes. How do we fix it? Vote them out. ADHD Nikki, how are you today?
I'm okay. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Okay, so I need to make sure everybody knows about this. So there was a guy who just got out of the Houston Detention Center, okay? And there's a man in there named Rodrigo Adolfo Rodriguez, I believe his name is. And before he got put into the detention center, they ended up shooting him, pew-pewing him.
Nikki, hang on one second. So I don't know anything. I don't know anything of the story you're talking about, and we just have a rule here that without any kind of knowledge of the situation, I'm not saying what you're saying is.
I just want everybody to call their representatives. That's all. Because the guy's got an open wound and he's got a bag over it.
Okay. So
I
appreciate that. Could you message
everyone
me in
needs
the
to know
Discord?
about this guy.
Yeah, can you message me in the Discord so we can do some research on the story? I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. All right, bye. Just a general rule we have. We try to be consistent with everything. We just want to make sure that we know exactly all the details so we can provide, the sources and the information. 202-224-3121. That's the switchboard. 202-224-3121. I appreciate you guys. All right. Let's now pivot to a couple of things that we've learned recently from the e-files. One of the things that the right has been hanging on to is that there are no credible claims accusing or alleging Donald Trump of anything, which we know is not true. So what I'm going to be getting into with you guys is a report from the Raw story, and there's a Substack post as well. So I want to share this with you now because of the example that we're going to experience, right, when this information comes out, that there are credible claims, credible enough that the FBI used some of the claims made in these allegations to convict J.E. and Ghislaine Maxwell. So if the information from that was credible enough to convict those two, then I would say then by definition that would be a credible claim. Yes, better to be last than wrong. That's our model. Yeah, we would rather be last and right than first and wrong. That's our model. We'll stick to it. Those are my rules. So thank you. Appreciate that. Anyway, we'll see a series of goalposts being moved. And I think it's necessary for us to continue to call it out because of the fact that first of all, we believe women. Thank you. We believe women, we believe survivors, and we want the voices. We know that we are now at day 59 of the Department of Justice under the Trump administration breaking the law. Before I get to that, let me see if I can do this. Should I do this first? Okay, this was from a few days ago. Caitlin Collins in the Oval Office questioned the president about the files. It's comprehensive. I'll just play this for you. I'll take a quick break and I'll be right back.
You talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I didn't. I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions that came out. Some of them, entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
That they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really, now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead, CNN.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
I'm asking you about survivors.
You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
These are survivors of a sexual abuse of health care.
Interesting that he says, why aren't you smiling? And she's like, because I'm talking about survivors of a global sex trafficking ring, and of course, he just wants to deflect. So. First of all, I think I saw RJ in the chat. I want to give a shout out to RJ because there was an example this weekend where we are constantly trying to provide some information on why it's important to have accurate sources. So one of the things that I use, and I've talked about this before, is what's referred to as the Media Bias Fact Check, right? It's a nonpartisan entity. All this organization does is provide resources from the source in question. For example, all they do is they track stories, they track stories for accuracy, they track stories for credibility. So what I'm going to read to you, I'm going to read you a story from what's referred to as Raw Story. Raw Story is the news agency that's reporting this. So let's do what I do all the time whenever we talk about sourcing. I'm going to go to Media Bias Fact Check. You guys can follow along. MediaBiasFactCheck.com. It's very simple. All you do is you enter the name of the publication or the website or the news agency. You enter it into their hang on one second. You enter into their search field, and then it produces the result. And I'll read to you what they say about Raw Story, because that is the news agency that we are going to, the story that I'm going to read to you from. So Raw Story, like everything else, everything has a bias. So what they score the Raw Story as left biased based on story selection and editorial positions that usually favor the left. We also rate them factual and reporter rather than high due to a few failed fact checks. High credibility. So when you are doing your analysis of what's considered a primary source or a legitimate source, you should be more focused on factuality as opposed to bias, because everybody has bias. So if you read down a little bit further, it says overall we rate Raw Story left based on story selection and editorial positions that usually favor the right. We also rate them very high factually in reporting. Excuse me. So that's the point, right? Like we've talked about this a million times. We all have bias. We all have bias. We can run the same thing for every single news agency. I'm sharing that with you because of the story I'm about to read. I'm going to follow that up with somebody who took information from this and created a Substack post. Again, this entire thing is because the right has said there is no credible allegations against the president. An explosive allegation against President Trump and JE, this came out on Saturday, has surfaced in the JD's recent release, the Justice Department recent release of 3.5 million files, including disturbing details about a supposed body allegedly buried at one of Trump's more than 12 golf courses. Trigger warnings. Name of the fact check again, it's Media Bias Fact Check. Just type that in, you'll find it. According to an FBI document released by the DOJ, the agency received a tip in June of 2021 from an individual whose name had been redacted, but is described as an alleged victim, a former member of the Sinaloa cartel and a close confidant of Jeffrey and Jelaine. According to the document, the individual was formally interviewed by an FBI agent and accused Trump of being aware of having funded, quote, underage schmex parties at one of his golf courses. That individual went on to claim that they had recordings of Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell discussing marketing strategies for high-profile schmex parties. According to the FBI official who drafted the document, their name was also redacted. Again, that name should not be redacted. They're not a survivor. They're a person involved in the investigation. According to the law, day 59 of the DOJ, breaking the law, that name should not be redacted. The individual claimed that in one of the recordings, Trump can be heard stating, quote, he was aware of the underage schmex parties. The tipster also told the FBI that they had personally witnessed Robin Leach, the British entertainment reporter and television host best known for Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, do this to a young girl during one of those parties. Remember that infamous interview with Robin Leach sat down with Donald and with Marla and interviewing the Donald about what Marla might have or what Tiffany might have in common with Donald and or Marla. And he talked about her breasts. She was 1 year old. 1 year old. Again, the British entertainment reporter and television host most best known for Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous strangle a young girl during a schmex party at one of Trump's golf courses or resorts. They claim that she is buried behind the 19th hole at the Donald Trump golf course. A name, redacted, is aware of 3 separate occasions in which girls were murdered and buried there. Remember that Ivana is also buried at one of Trump's golf courses. Due to the sheer volume of Epstein-related materials released by the DOJ, many of the documents contain unverified, uncorroborated allegations that do not constitute evidence and do not establish wrongdoing. Trump is not facing any criminal charges or investigations related to the allegations. A lot of the information in this particular report was used to convict. The FBI sought them as credible enough to use them in convicting Jeffrey and Ghislaine. So how then should we proceed? Talk about that in just a second. I have another guest request.
Hi, bro, from Syria, need help. Please, 5 minutes, brother. Please.
Alex, I'm sorry. I can't do it every day, man. I'm sorry. Come back tomorrow. I promise. I just can't do it every day. Okay. This is then turned into, that story has gotten legs. And again, it's really, really important for you all to remember that one of the things that we're hearing from the defenders of predators is that there are no credible allegations. Well, this defeats that entire story because these allegations were credible enough, again, that they were used to convict Jeffrey and Ghislaine. So how then should we just say that these are no longer credible? They will move the goalpost. They will find some way, somehow, to move the goalpost. So this is written by Roger Sollenberger. I follow him on Substack. All he's doing is reporting on the information. So again, support your independent journalists. The title of this story that I'll read to you now is called FBI Interviewed Trump Accuser, The Files Show. The FBI spoke to a victim of JE who also accused Trump of sexually and violently assaulting her, according to records in the Justice Department's publicly searchable Epstein database. Trigger warnings. I promise you guys that I will do my best to not share and or regurgitate some potentially triggering information. That is never my intention. I will do my best. This story is a bit unique in that aspect because I think it disproves a lot of the claims that are being made by the president and his supporters. So please bear with me. I'll do my best to honor our commitment to you all, because the last thing I want to do is re-traumatize anyone. So if you do need to scroll away, then I understand completely. I just think this is important. Thank you for that. The records do not show what became of the DOJ's investigation into these allegations, but the documents indicate the government found her to be a credible accuser. Records elsewhere in the files reveal that a woman with matching biographical details sued Jeffrey and his estate and then won a settlement in 2021. The allegations in FBI interview are landmark revelations, undermining the White House's protestations that Trump hasn't been accused of wrongdoing and showing instead that the U.S. government has been aware of a credible Trump accuser in the Jeffrey files. The DOJ included the woman's allegation in a comprehensive 21-page internal slideshow presentation about the government's investigation into Jeffrey and convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, well as in an internal email chain collecting information for the presentation. Her accusation is one of two about Trump after the FBI's Child Schmex Trafficking and Violent Crimes Task Force noted it on the slide, which listed a number of then non-public accusations involving prominent figures. Okay. Trigger warnings. Name redacted. Stated that Epstein introduced her to Trump, who subsequently forced her head down to his exposed penis, which she subsequently bit. The presentation says, in response, Trump punched her in the head and kicked her out. The victim would have been approximately 13 to 15 years old when this occurred. According to the presentation, the alleged assault took place in the early 80s, and the same woman also claimed to be a Jeffrey victim. The second Trump claim on the slide is that Epstein introduced a victim to Trump when she was 14, saying, "This is a good one, right?" To which Trump agreed, carries immense credibility within the DOJ. That claim about an incident at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in 1984 came from a key government witness whose testimony at trial helped prosecutors convict Maxwell and Epstein. So if it is so credible that the FBI used it to convict both Epstein and Maxwell, then is it no longer credible because the president's name is included? Both presentations and the email chain were created last summer, around the same time that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche interviewed Maxwell for an anachronistic jailhouse proffer. Is that just a coincidence? The assault allegations initially came via a lead called into an FBI hotline, according to internal records about the hotline tips. The Trump accusation sits at the top of that list, which also contains salacious, unverified, and often bizarre accusations against Trump. The notes show the FBI followed up on the tip, learning the victim's identity from the caller and preparing to dispatch agents to the Washington office for an interview. The slideshow presentation and the internal emails last summer don't cite the hotline as the source for the tip, as they do for a tip about Bill Barr. Instead, both cite the victim herself as the source of the claim, showing the FBI spoke directly with the Trump accuser. Elsewhere on the slide, a claim about former President Clinton is attributed to someone specified as not a victim. So again, just to kind of level set here, right? One of the things that the predator protectors have said is that these came into a hotline, not verified, just a hotline, just an allegation. This one does not. The FBI found it so credible that they spoke to the accuser themselves, and they used information gathered in that interview to convict J.E. and to convict Maxwell. This then, by definition, would be a credible accusation. There's no other way to look at it other than this. Our friends on the right will now move the goalpost again. While it's not clear what became of the investigation into the Trump claim, details from the tip match other records in the file, including an FBI write-up known as a 302 form of an interview with an Epstein victim and her lawyer. The interview was conducted July 24th, 2019, and entered into the FBI's case files on August 9th, the day before Jeffrey was found dead in his jail cell. The first 2 pages of the interview featured redacted blocks of text. You can't see any names. Most of it's blocked out. Later in the interview, the woman discussed a photo of Jeffrey and Trump that someone had sent to her, which was still saved in her phone. The victim asked the agents if she could crop someone out of the picture, Donald Trump. When the FBI agents asked if she could explain why she wanted to crop Trump out, the woman hesitated, and her attorney answered, citing, this person, the victim, was concerned about implicating additional individuals, and specifically any that were well known due to fear of retaliation. Quote, of note, the particular image sent to her was recognized by agents as a widely distributed photograph of J.E. and current U.S. President Donald Trump, the 302 form says. So is that not credible either? Epstein databases searches for this victim case number 3501.045 turn up other affiliated documents, including a July 19, 2019 memo showing the FBI's Seattle, Washington field office handled the interview. Again, to reiterate, the FBI found this information credible enough that they used it and her testimony to convict. Aaron, can you please request? Because the claim that you just made, it says when there's credible evidence, you'll believe it. That's what we're talking about, Aaron. I'm hoping you can listen for just a second. What we're talking about here is witness testimony. The FBI found her testimony to be so credible that they used it to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. And she references the abuse at the hands of not only Jeffrey, but Donald Trump as well. How can you not see that as credible? Aaron, you're in a cult, bro. I want you to think about that for a second, okay? I want you to walk into your bathroom or to your bedroom or whatever, look in the mirror and understand what you just heard. That the same information used to convict a serial sexual abuser and trafficker of girls, the same information used to convict her is in the exact same statement from the exact same witness. And then ask yourself, do I really want to die on this hill? Do I want to die on this hill? Please explain that to me. Please. Good luck. Southern, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, my man? Yeah,
fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm on your side. I just want to know what's next, man. Like, this has just gone on. I'm 62 years old. I've never seen our country in this kind of state. I'm here listening to the Nancy Maces of the world talking about justice for the victims, justice for the victims. In your intelligent opinion, and brother, I listen to you every day, and I respect everything you have to say. What's next? I know, and the answer is not just vote. I realize that is a partial solution. We've got to vote these people out. Mm-hmm. But what's next? What do we do? What's going to happen?
Well, do you want my wish or do you want my reality?
I want reality.
White men in power get away with shit because they protect each other, sadly. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think that people in power will get away with it. The president has the ability to pardon people. The president has the ability to pardon himself. And if you want justice, then you have to consider what you're willing to do to get it. Now, in my opinion, that would be looking at how much the president should have pardon power and what does that mean, and whether or not a president can pardon themselves, and what, depending on the level of crime, can a president be pardoned for something like this? I want impeachment hearings for every single cabinet member on day one of the next Congress when Democrats take control. That's why voting is also important. I also remind people that we've got to do more in our community. We have to protect people that we care about. We've got to make sure that people aren't starving. We've got to make sure that they have shelter, water, food, healthcare. So there's all kinds of things, all kinds of things. I lost you, bro.
I think the House is. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. No, I realize taking both the House and the and the Senate are probably not a reality. What is there, 33 or 35 seats up for the Senate, something like that?
Oh, I think the Senate's I think the Senate's an absolute reality, an absolute reality.
Okay, all right. That's. I wanted to hear you say that. I respect your opinion, brother. Look, I'm gonna let you. Just totally let you dog walk somebody who doesn't have your side of the isn't thinking with your intelligence. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop me down. I just want to know what's next. I mean, I'm an older gentleman. I like you. I'm tired of people saying that.
Let me ask you this question. What are you going to do?
Oh, what am I going to do? I mean, right now, my voice and my vote. My voice and my vote. That's what I got.
Okay. What about in your community? What can you do in your community to help make people's lives better?
I don't know. I mean, what can I personally do?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for you, brother.
How about something simple? Like do you work from home? Or are you retired?
I'm retired and I work from home. Yes. I own a small business.
Oh, that's great. I'm a small business owner as well. So how about volunteering at your local food shelter?
Well, we've done that. We've definitely done that. And I think that's part again, I think that's part of the solution. And for someone to come up there and tell you that, that eating is not a right, anyway, I'm with you.
I know. Okay. So again, my point is, friend, we talk about this whole do something spirit. I think that's what we have to do. We got to do more of it. We got to be thinking that way every single day about who can I help today? Whether it be your neighbor, a friend, somebody you don't know, shovel a driveway, trim some hedges, mow a lawn, fix a door, whatever that might be. There's always something that we can do. Therefore, please just do something. Thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being here. Have a good day. Right, be safe out there. That goes for everybody, right? That goes for everyone. For everybody. Aaron, I see you chirping in the chat. Aaron, you seem very, very lost. I'm giving you an opportunity to have a conversation because otherwise, I just feel like you're a coward and you don't want to face you don't want to face what you support. You don't want to be called out for it. You can sit in the chat and literally post something to say, when there's credible evidence, I'll believe it. As I told you guys would happen. Initially, the claim was there are no credible allegations against Trump. Here is a credible allegation against Trump. So credible, in fact, it was used to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, and she's in jail. If it's credible enough to convict her, it's not credible enough for you to believe it? Because you said if there's credible evidence, I wouldn't believe it. Aaron, from human to human, is this really the hill that you want to die on? Really? This goes for anybody. Do you want to be remembered? Do you want your family legacy to look back and say, you know what? Those are two allegations. If the term is credibility and the claim is there's no credible allegations against him, I don't know how else you could describe this. I'd like to think people think I'm objective. Yes, I have bias. But if there was no allegations and they were not considered credible, then why was this same information used at trial to convict Ghislaine Maxwell? Does somebody want to explain that to me? I'm just asking. Please explain it. Because I don't know how else you could determine it being not credible when it in fact is credible. Let me just real quick. Let me thank a few people. Let me finish this first. A separate internal DOJ email about allegations involving Maxwell victims and prominent figures dated around the same time, July 22nd, 2025, days before Todd Blanche interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell in her jailhouse, including this allegation, noting the victim, quote, testified at trial. The encounter occurred at Trump's resort compound at Mar-a-Lago when the victim was 14 or 15, the email states. That matches a claim in a handwritten note from 2019 where the victim recounts over several pages her traumatic history with Epstein and Maxwell. The encounter with Trump occurred around 1994 to 1995, the notes say. These things line up. They line up. Handwritten note from the victim, which we went through last week, timing, date stamps, interview testimony, used at trial to convict Ghislaine Maxwell. Within days of this coming out, Todd Blanche is sitting down with Ghislaine Maxwell because he knew it was in there. He knew what was there. He knew it was credible. He knew that it was going to name the president, and he went to her to see what else she knew. We have the transcript. Some of the things in there were very, very strange. She immediately started to lobby for a pardon and a commutation. And here we are again. Here we are again. The encounter with Trump occurred around 1994 to 1995, the notes say. Quote, this is my friend, name redacted, the note says about what Epstein said at the time. Think he said friend is the quote. With the help of allies in Congress and the media, Trump has bulled through dozens of allegations of sexual misconduct emerging with little political damage. But the courts have delivered significant verdicts against him. In 2023 and 2024, juries in New York found Trump liable for abusing and defaming E. Jean Carroll, awarding her $88.3 million. Then convicted him on 34 felony counts for fraudulently disguising payments to buy the silence of adult film star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. Weeks after, leaked Access Hollywood footage said Trump would brag about grabbing women by the pussy without fear of consequence. While this Maxwell witness says she was not a victim of Trump, she does meaningfully undermine one of the president's central defenses that despite years of close friendships and socializing, Trump had not been aware that Epstein preyed on underage girls and cut ties with him once he did learn about it. This is the basis for their whole case. Everything that they have said is that he knew nothing about it, wasn't involved, even though we've got so much evidence to contradict all of it. And here again, sound like a broken record. These statements, these allegations, the FBI determined them to be credible enough that they convicted Ghislaine Maxwell with them. So where's the defense? What are they going to do now? We'll see. Let's see. Maria Farmer, an Epstein and Maxwell victim and sister of Annie Farmer, another key witness against Maxwell, says she told the FBI twice to look into the now-dead predators tied to the president in 2006 and 1996. The 1994 Mar-a-Lago encounter with the 14-year-old came 2 years before Farmer's first tip and at least a decade before Trump claims to have kicked Epstein out of his club for being a creep, as the White House has maintained in statements for months. That whole story gets blown up now. The claim adds to a growing pile of information challenging what Trump knew about his dead friend's history of abusing and raping children and when he knew it. That evidence includes a lewd birthday card Trump sent Epstein in 2003, the long and deeply reported history of their socializing in the 80s and 90s, a fully redacted email between Jeffrey and Maxwell discussing Epstein and Trump's relationship, and an FBI interview with Palm Beach police, Michael Ratner, who said Trump told him in a 2006 phone call that Epstein's disgusting behavior was widely known and that Maxwell was evil. The same evil Maxwell that Donald Trump wished good luck to. Asked about the call last week, the White House would not confirm or deny that it occurred. Thank goodness you're stopping him, said Trump. Everyone has known he's been doing this. The chief also recalled Trump claiming he'd once encountered Epstein around a group of teenagers and got the hell out of there. And Jeffrey Epstein, when asked if he was ever in the presence of young girls with himself and Donald Trump, he took the fifth. So did Ghislaine Maxwell. So, again, here we sit. Here we sit. What's going to happen? I wish I was wrong, but I don't think a damn thing, sadly. I really, really wish I was wrong. But this is what happens when you have a system of powerful men from all walks of life, in all industries, in all nations. You are seeing more and more people stepping down and resigning from their positions. I know the royal family in Norway is considered blowing up. Norwegian citizens are considering blowing up the entire fucking monarchy in Norway over things like this. People retiring at law firms. We reported last week a prominent lawyer in I think it's, I forget which organization, stepping down. Of course, we know the situation with Peter Mendelsohn. We know the situation with former Prince Andrew. We know the situation with all kinds of other people. They're being held accountable. They're either resigning from Goldman Sachs. Thank you. Thank you very much. They know. They don't want anything to do with it, but not here. Nope. Not in our country. Because the president of the United States is named in a credible allegation. His commerce secretary lied. Bill Barr's name is in here. I'm sorry. I am sorry for every victim of abuse at the hands of men. I'm incredibly sorry. I can't take that back. I can just stand with survivors and talk about this every day, as painful and as hard as it is, because of what they are getting away with. It's one thing to be getting away with it, but the lengths to which people are going to protect it. What's in the documents? What else is in the documents that they found in Mar-a-Lago? What else is in there? What is buried with Ivana? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but man, oh man, when you start to pull in the fucking threads and girls disappearing on various Trump's property and threats of violence, Katie Johnson, again, another credible allegation that the people on the right won't accept. Well, why did she drop the case? We know why. She feared for her life and the life of her family. This is what happens. So again, when you take back John, is that the most important thing you have to say? With the smiley emojis, that you're triggered by the fact that I have nail varnish on? Are you listening, John? Do you think anybody fucking cares? Aside from you, John? Really? Do you think anybody cares? We're up here talking about the worst of the worst. We're up here talking about boys and girls, infants, prepubescent teens, and toddlers in some cases, being abused and in many cases unalived by a global ring of predators, of which our president has been implicated. And you're concerned about some dude that you don't know who paints his nails? And you laugh about that, John? Like you think that's a flex, man? You think that's a flex? We are fighting for humanity, John. We are fighting for humanity, and you're triggered by nail varnish. And you're going to go home. You're going to get into your subreddit chat room. And you're going to say, hey, I went on TikTok today and I dunked on some lib because he paints his nails. And we're up here fighting for humanity. Do you think that food isn't right either, John? Probably.
Good morning.
Hi. How are
Why
you?
are you triggering people with your nails? Like, how woke of you?
I don't know. So woke of me, Victoria. I know. Like, we don't have more important things to do.
Right. And, you know, talking about this, like, just hopping straight into this conversation about what's going on, like with Katie Johnson and whatnot. People don't realize that these cases take years to come to trial. Like, it can take 3 to 5 years. So a child who was 6, 7, 8 years old might be well into their preteens about this time. And then if you are putting them on the stand, it is well known that the predators, lawyers will tear the children apart, will go after them in a real way. And that is a scary thought. And a lot of people who throw out the civil cases don't realize that civil cases quite often are the only way these victims get justice.
Or a settlement, or a flat out settlement. Yep.
Yeah. Because most of the predators, you know, my predator specifically, he was only they wanted to release him right back down the road from us 6 months later. And my parents had to fight tooth and nail to push back against that, because he would have been within 2 football fields of me. So, like, this is something that I don't think a lot of people realize, and they don't realize how pervasive the issue is. The first comment that I remember an adult saying after I was assaulted was, I was asking for it.
Of course.
It was a woman who said it to me. And my parents I came home sobbing, obviously. I'm 7 years old, sobbing. And my parents were like, my mom got up so quickly and went straight to their house. Like, if you say this again, we're going to court. Like, this is unacceptable behavior. But that is a pervasive comment. That is not the first time I heard that comment. That is not the last time I heard that comment. I've heard that comment consistently since I was then. And this is part of our culture. This is part of, like, what happens. And realistically, I'm never surprised that people are protecting predators, because groomers, all of these pedophiles are literally grooming the entire culture to protect them. So, and for the people in the comments who are like, you were 7, yeah, I was 7. But you know what? This is culture. When I hear someone online say these things, I'm like, you're dangerous. You're dangerous to children. You're dangerous to society, because you've been groomed to feel that way, and you're protecting predators. And people don't realize how pervasive it is and how big of an issue it is. Every time you talk about a 17-year-old girl, the way that she's dressing, you are sexualizing a child. You should never comment on a child's body. Period. End of story. Whether it's weight, whether it's whatever, don't comment. If she is wearing a dress, she is allowed to wear that dress. We do not comment on that. For teachers, comment on that, on what she's looking like. Say something, because this is part of that culture. It's all grape culture.
It is. I mean, again, talking about one of those things that I can call, you call out white women, I call out white men. The locker room talk, fellas, is just no longer acceptable. You see something, you have to say something. You cannot just be like, what am I supposed to do? What you are supposed to do is call out this fucking shit. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you should have been doing all along. If this doesn't remind you what it is that we're talking about here, because at the end of the day, we are fighting for humanity. The fact that I even have to say that tells us exactly where we sit. Mm-hmm. Again, pro-life Christians saying food isn't a right.
Yeah.
Because show me where food is listed in the Constitution. That's what this person said. Show me where food is listed in the Constitution.
Or human rights. Like, my state senator said that human rights are not protected in the Constitution. And I was like, no, ma'am, Janice, no. But this is their mentality. They're dehumanizing women and children, dehumanizing their fellow man, and they don't, in fact, care, because they can hide behind their Sunday, Sky Daddy trip.
That's right. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you as always. You want to pitch?
Yeah, guys, I'm Victoria Broderick. I'm running for Congress in Tennessee's District 4. I am a working class mom. Yes, I do, in fact, work full time. I have three fur babies, 2 tiny humans, and I foster a local humane society. I am running for my second congressional race here in 2026, but I ran my first congressional race in 2024, working full time, raising over $120,000 in 5 months, and I grew the district. Today would be a great day to donate to my campaign. Please, please, please. I am a small dollar candidate. I do not take corporate money. I do not take corporate PAC money. I do not take APAC money. I am a small dollar girly. So if you can support my campaign today, we are needing to raise money for our voter data so that we can canvass correctly going into the spring of 2026. Any of that will help, and you get a handwritten thank you card from yours truly.
Thank you, Victoria. I appreciate you, friend. Talk to you later. All right, bye. Bye. Want to thank some folks. Thank you, Gray Area, for your contribution. She said, Steve, why can't the military step in to protect us from enemies that are clearly domestic? I agree. It's a great point. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Sally, very much. I'm sending love to one of my fave TikTok streamers on my birthday. Thank you for all you do. Well, happy birthday to you, Sally. Hearts in the chat for Sally on her birthday, please. Thank you, Sally. Also to Amy. Amy, as always, thank you so very much. The Do Something Dollar Train, friends. There's 1,300 people in here. We are what? What's the math there? $72 away from 2,000. If we can take care of that, that'd be fantastic. I appreciate you all very, very much. Brett, thank you so much, Brett. You're the best. Thank you so much for holding these conversations. I appreciate you saying that, Brett. That's very kind of you. Jennifer says, hopping on the $2 train. Love you, Steve. Love you back, Jennifer. Appreciate you very, very much. Laverne, thank you so much. Your kindness is always appreciated. I see you every day. The dollar do something train. Also to Gigi, to Caitlin, to Heather, as always, to Crystal. You guys are awesome. That's on the V. On the other one side, I want to thank Kara. Thank you, Kara, so much. Tranisha, thank you so very, very much. I appreciate you. Also, Stacy, thank you so much. Jennifer. Davenport, Patricia, Heather again, guys, you're incredibly kind. And also to, hang on a second, I'll do some tabulating in a moment. Melissa, thank you so very, very much. I appreciate you. The 1898 was bothering her, so well, that's been fixed. So we've updated that. But again, thank you guys. You're incredibly kind. Programming note. Obviously, our show is Monday through Friday, 8 till noon Eastern time. We do Facts After Dark every other Friday night. I might start doing those a little bit more frequently, only because of the fact that I know people need a space to be able to kind of step off every once in a while. Can't do it every Friday night, but just we'll try to be more regular in our cadence to do those. Just as another reminder, if you head to the link tree that's in my bio, you'll find a link to our Instagram page, which is the Do Something Tour Instagram page. You can look for this logo too around. It's our logo for the Do Something Tour. Pretty cool. Thank you, Sam. You can head on over there and please follow along on our Instagram, because that's kind of where we'll be tracking what we're doing. And again, just as a reminder to folks what it is that we're doing, in case you're just finding us here for the first time, in April, weather permitting, I am going on the road to talk to voters, to remind folks what's important and what should be important, and why it is that we need more people to engage. People have asked these questions like, what's the goal? To me, I just know that let me put it this way. I have to believe that there are more people, many, many more people, that understand what fighting for humanity means. I have to believe that. If I stopped believing that, then I couldn't do this every day. There's just no way I could. It takes a lot. There's just no way I could do this. I have to believe. So part of what I want to do is to have these conversations, more listening than anything else. Have these conversations and listen to people to find out why they disengaged, why they checked out, why they decided to not participate anymore. Okay? So I think maybe this would be a good opportunity for me just to kind of give you an idea. I'll read it again. I don't want this to become me putting this in your face every single day. But I think it's necessary, because this is what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about why we need to get people re-engaged in our democracy, why we need to get people to understand what literally is at stake. It's not even about, to me, it's not even this. I don't want this to be about politics. I don't. by the way, we are looking for sponsors, and I've had to turn away business in the past of people whose philosophies and or ideology that I don't agree with, and we'll do the same thing with this. So we're looking for sponsors who understand what we're trying to do, who understand what our mission is, who understand why it's so incredibly important that we get people to re-engage in democracy, because I firmly believe, and again, I have to believe this, that if we can get more people involved, right, the more people we get involved, the better off we'll all be, because the more people that are involved, that means more people understand what is at stake. So let me find this for you guys, and I'll just read this real quick. Hang on a second. I think it's going to be easier for me just to kind of level set on a few things. Hang on a second. Here we go. All right. Okay. This is my pitch. I need to do it more, so I just want you to understand, if you're finding us for the first time, this is what this is about to me. I want to start with something honest. A lot of people in this country are tired, not just busy tired, I mean soul tired, right? We can all agree. Tired of working hard and still feeling like they're falling behind, tired of watching the news and feeling powerless, tired of hearing promises every election season and then watching nothing change. If you've ever felt like your vote doesn't matter, like your voice doesn't count, I want you to know something. You're not alone, and you're not wrong for feeling that way. Because when you feel ignored long enough, you stop believing anyone is listening. And when you stop believing anyone is listening, you stop showing up. It's like the whole you give a mouse a cookie kind of thing. But here's what I've learned in my life. The moment that good people stop showing up is the moment the wrong people take over the room. That's why I'm launching the Do Something Tour. Not because I have the answers, not because I'm here to tell anyone what to think, but because I believe we're losing something precious in this country, and that's our faith in each other. I'm going to travel the country, sit down with as many people as I can, those that feel forgotten, people who feel dismissed, people who feel like the system is built for someone else. And I'm going to listen. I want to hear what broke your trust. I want to hear what you've lived through. I want to hear what you wish the people in power actually understood about your life. Because the truth is, democracy isn't a speech. It's not a slogan. It's not something that happens once every 4 years. Democracy is people. It's parents trying to keep their kids safe. It's workers trying to keep food on the table. It's communities trying to stay whole. It's people who don't want to be a headline. They just want to be okay. And I know this. If we want change, we can't just hope for it. We have to participate in it. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to know every issue. I'm not asking you to trust politicians. I'm just asking you to trust your own worth, to remember that your voice matters, even if it's been ignored. To remember that your vote matters, even if it hasn't felt like it, and to remember that your presence matters too, because this country belongs to you too. This is my invitation. Come back in, not because the system deserves you, because your community does, your kids do, your family does, your future does. This is the Do Something Tour. And if you ever felt powerless, I want you to hear me clearly. You still have power. Let's do something together. I'm going to wrap there today, friends. I appreciate you all very, very much. As a reminder, we are accepting donations to help put us out on the road. Please consider chipping in if you can at Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Please follow along the Do Something Tour. We're probably going to work on producing a shirt that's specific for the Do Something Tour. A lot of great ideas that are being thrown out there. Look for that soon. Again, thank you all, friends. Who are we rating, everybody? Who's live right now? Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think Danny's probably live. Oh, yeah. Obi said he's going to go live. Go rate Obi. If you want to chill a little bit, go rate Obi. I'll probably be over there. I got a little bit of work to do, but I love you, friends. And again, what I read earlier to start about our fight for humanity, I'll post that up on my Substack. By the way, you can follow me on Substack as well. Go check that out. The link is in my bio. I appreciate you all, friends. Thanks a lot for being here. I love you all, and we'll